Chapter 1956. I didn't think about running away at all. If I wanted to run away, I would have run away already. Why would I be here talking nonsense with you? Yang Ming smiled and looked at the short robber. His face was full of ridicule. Humph, you can't run away even if you want to. The short robber sneered. Brother, let's kill him today. Okay. The tall robber also nodded. There was a hint of ruthlessness in his eyes. Then the two of them approached Yang Ming together. Fortunately, I am prepared. Don't think that you can take my dagger with a magic trick. I will let you see my means. The tall robber took out a stun baton from his pocket and pressed the button. The stun baton emitted a terrifying spark. It was scary. I will let you taste the taste of being electrocuted alive. The short robber also took out a stun baton. The dagger was just to scare people. To deal with ordinary people, as long as they took out the dagger, the other party was already obedient. However, to deal with some ruthless people, they still had a backup plan. Otherwise, how could they succeed every time when they had been on the beach for so many years? They always had to meet some ruthless people. Wouldn't they be beaten up? Of course, being beaten up was a small matter. If they were beaten up and handed over to the police, then they would be miserable. Therefore, they also had a unique skill. To deal with such people, they used the stun baton. Of course, they had been doing business for so many years without any capital. They could buy a gun if they wanted to, but after all, if the gun was used, it was easy to cause a big problem. If they injured people with a gun, even if the person did not call the police and went to the hospital for treatment, the hospital would call the police. When the police investigated, they were afraid that they had no other choice but to run away. However, it was fine to use the stun baton to hurt people. If the victim went to the hospital for treatment, the hospital would not call the police. Most of the victims just had to admit that they were unlucky. The two brothers could still get away with it. Therefore, they liked to use the stun baton. It was lethal, but it was not too dangerous. The tall robber and the short robber looked at each other and smiled. Then, they raised the stun baton and stabbed at Yang Ming. A sneer appeared at the corner of Yang Ming's mouth. With this method, you still want to threaten people. When the tall robber and the short robber were close to each other, Yang Ming suddenly raised his leg and directly kicked the acupuncture point on the tall robber's wrist. The tall robber's hand suddenly paused, and suddenly changed direction uncontrollably. He directly stabbed the stun baton on the short robber's body. The short robber suddenly let out a scream. Then, his whole body began to tremble, and he started to dance to the disco. What the fuck are you doing? Do you want to electrocute me to death? The short robber screamed. The voltage of the stun baton was controlled just right. It could make people feel pain, but it wouldn't make them faint. This was also the voltage threshold set by the tall and short robber because he was afraid of killing people. However, today was the first time he used it on one of his own people. The tall robber was shocked. He quickly let go of the button and looked at the short robber in horror. I didn't do it on purpose. This kid kicked me and made my arm crooked. The short robber trembled from the electric shock. He couldn't stand steadily. He glanced at Yang Ming and said with a grimace, Kid, you don't have to be cocky. When I electrocute you, you will know what it feels like. Although the short robber also thought that Yang Ming's skill was good, he thought that he had the stun baton in his hand. As long as he was brave and ruthless, he should be able to electrocute Yang Ming. As a result, the short robber launched a second round of attacks on Yang Ming. He waved the stun baton and rushed toward Yang Ming. The tall robber did the same. This time, he learned to be smart. He didn't stand side by side with the short robber to avoid being accidentally injured by Yang Ming again. However, the skills of these two people were like floating clouds to Yang Ming. They couldn't even be called opponents. The reason why Yang Ming played with them was because he remembered the past with Suya. He felt that it was a little exciting, so he let them stay until now. Otherwise, Yang Ming would have kicked them into the sea one by one. Looking at the two people's angry expressions, Suya also felt that it was enough, so she said to Yang Ming, "Okay, don't mess with them. Do we still have to go somewhere else?" Yang Ming nodded after listening to Suya's words. Then, he kicked the tall robber's lower abdomen. The tall robber flew out and fell heavily into the sea with a plop. He couldn't get up for a long time. On this side, Yang Ming's hands were not idle. When the short robber approached, he threw a punch and directly hit the short robber's outstretched hand. With a "kacha" sound, he directly broke the robber's arm. "Your IQ is really too low. I was robbed by you once, and I still dare to stand here and talk to you instead of running away. Don't you realize anything?" Yang Ming also ignored the short robber's wail. He took the opportunity to hit him a few times, and he couldn't move. The short robber was a little surprised. When Yang Ming came over, he wanted to run away, but after being touched by Yang Ming a few times, his hands and feet didn't seem to work. If it wasn't for the piercing pain in his broken arm, he would even think that his hands and feet weren't his own. "What happened to me? What happened to me? What did you do to me? Why can't my hands and feet move? What the hell is going on?" The short robber shouted in horror. Yang Ming didn't care about him. After sealing his acupuncture points, he walked toward the tall robber. As for the tall robber, when he saw that the situation wasn't right, he wanted to run. He didn't care that his clothes were wet. He jumped out of the sea and looked at the short robber who was motionless on the ground. He hesitated. This wasn't the time to talk about brotherhood. If he didn't run now, he was afraid that he couldn't run away anymore. So, he shouted, "Brother, it's not that I don't care about you, but I can't take care of myself. I will run first. You have to hold on." When the short robber heard that he was abandoned, he suddenly felt sad in his heart. However, he knew until now that what the tall robber said was also the truth. The kid in front of him was too strange. Forget about his kung fu, the key problem was that he just casually hit him a few times, and he couldn't move. What kind of strange trick is this? Why have I never seen it before? Just by tapping a few times, he was able to immobilize a person. Chapter 1957. Could it be? A terrible idea emerged in his mind. As soon as this idea came out, he continued to be shocked uncontrollably. Could it be that Yang Ming was a martial arts master? Was that the method he used just now was the acupuncture point? Thinking of this possibility, the short robber trembled all over. "Hero, please spare me. I know I was wrong." Although Yang Ming heard his words, he didn't have time to say anything to him at the moment. Instead, he looked at the tall robber who was about to escape. With a shake of his hand, a flying needle shot out. It went directly into the tall robber's body. He suddenly screamed and fell into the sea, gulping down seawater. Yang Ming walked over and directly grabbed the back of his collar. He took him out of the sea and threw him on the beach. "Why? Do you still want to run?" "But unfortunately, I never intended to let you run." The tall robber was pulled up by Yang Ming. It was like an eagle catching a chicken. He suddenly trembled all over. "Hero, please spare me. We were blind. We didn't know that you had achieved great success in just a few years. Please spare me." Yang Ming was speechless about the tall robber's words. These two robbers didn't seem to have high IQs. Yang Ming kicked the tall robber up and landed next to the short robber. "You two have been doing this for a long time. You haven't been in the police station for so many years. Then I'll help you and let you play in the police station. Ah. The tall and short robber was a little dumbfounded after listening to Yang Ming's words. They didn't expect Yang Ming to send them to the police station. Hero, please spare me. We went our separate ways. You have already taught us a lesson. Let us go. Oh, if you didn't say it, I wouldn't have remembered. Now that you said it, I feel that I haven't beaten you enough. I still have to continue to work hard. As Yang Ming said, he picked up the 2 electric batons on the beach and said, I haven't played with electric barbecue yet. You just gave me an inspiration. I want to see what electric barbecue looks like. No. Please don't. The short robber saw Yang Ming pick up the electric baton and was suddenly scared. He had just tasted the feeling of being electrocuted by the electric baton. It was really a life and death experience. If he was electrocuted again, he would rather die. Hero, please spare me. Hero, don't electrocute me. I have heart disease. I will be electrocuted. At that time, you can't get away. You will become a murderer. The tall robber shouted. He was afraid that Yang Ming would call him. Oh. After Yang Ming listened to the words of the tall robber, he fell into deep thought. If I kill you, I can't get away with it. Yes, yes. You think about it. At that time, you deliberately killed people. The tall robber thought that Yang Ming was scared, so he nodded quickly. Oh, I know. Yang Ming nodded. Unfortunately, I killed 2 robbers a year ago. Not only was I not implicated, but I was also praised. They said that I was justified in self-defense. Ah. The tall robber was stunned, but then he quickly said, that's not the same. It must be the 2 robbers who attacked you and were killed by you, so you are fine. You are justified in self-defense. But the 2 of us have already surrendered. If you kill us again, it is not justified in self-defense. Oh, what you said makes sense. Yang Ming nodded and looked at the tall robber with a smile. You know quite a lot. Of course, we robbers are also very proficient in the law. The tall robber nodded proudly. Oh, so that's it. Yang Ming smiled and said, but it's useless. If it was a year ago, I might be afraid to kill you. But now, even if I kill you, it's fine. Ah. The tall robber was stunned. He didn't understand what Yang Ming meant. Yang Ming didn't answer. He directly turned on the stun baton and stabbed the tall robber. Your brother has already tasted this. This time, it's your turn. Ah. The tall robber screamed and began to tremble with the current. Oh, oh, oh. After a while, Yang Ming found that the tall robber wasn't electrocuted to death. He felt a little bored, so he handed the stun baton to Suya. Do you want to play? I don't want to play. It's boring. Suya shook her head. She didn't have violent tendencies. Oh, then I will increase the voltage and see if I can electrocute them. Yang Ming began to study the stun baton. Ah, no. The short robber screamed. Aren't you going to send us to the police station? You should be sensible. If you hurt us and send us to the police station, you will definitely not have a good time. You can't escape the responsibility. If you dare to electrocute us again, you will let us go. Otherwise, we brothers will sue you for intentional injury. Yes, yes. The tall robber felt that the short robber made sense. He quickly agreed. You have to let us go now. Otherwise, we brothers will sue you for intentional injury even if we have to go to jail. You are really long-winded. Yang Ming stuffed the stun baton into the tall robber's mouth and pressed the button. In an instant, there was a smell of something burning. The tall robber rolled his eyes directly and was stunned by the stun baton. The short robber didn't expect Yang Ming to be so unscrupulous. He even dared to use the stun baton to teach them a lesson. He was suddenly anxious. If you dare to mess with us again, I will call the police and arrest you. Oh, well, then you should call the police. It just so happens that I am tired of playing. You can call the police yourself. You can save me some phone bills. Yang Ming said. If you have the ability, then you call the police. We call the police ourselves? Isn't that a fool? The short robber said, if you don't dare to call the police, then let us go quickly. Don't cause trouble for yourself. You made us like this now. You won't be able to bear the consequences when the time comes. Forget it. I won't talk nonsense with you. I will call the police myself. Yang Ming shook his head and dialed Xia Shua's phone. Xia Shua hadn't contacted Yang Ming for a while. For Yang Ming, Xia Shua didn't know what kind of mentality she should have when facing him. The two people went from the initial hostile and tense relationship to a friendship later on. After that, they carried out missions together and developed a somewhat ambiguous friendship that was better than ordinary friends. However, since she had some small ambiguity with Yang Ming at the Wang family's base, after Xia Shua returned safely, the contact with Yang Ming became weaker and weaker. The interaction between the two people became less and less. Chapter 1958. Sometimes, Xia Shua wanted to call Yang Ming and ask him what he was doing, but she didn't know what reason to call him. Could it be that Yang Ming, this long-term meal ticket, hadn't treated her to a meal for a long time? As she gradually matured, Xia Shua was no longer the little girl who just came to work in the police force. Instead, she shouldered the heavy burden of a leader of the police force. Her whole person had become more mature and capable. If she had to say those words to Yang Ming again, Xia Shua really couldn't say it. And Yang Ming seemed to be growing as well. Listening to her brother say that Yang Ming had made a contribution again, Xia Shua also sighed in her heart. My life trajectory is getting further and further away from him. Sometimes, Xia Shua would recall the bits and pieces between herself and Yang Ming. From the beginning when she misunderstood Yang Ming in the interrogation room to later understanding and accepting Yang Ming and becoming good friends with him. Thinking about the past, it was really beautiful. Yang Ming pushed her in the police station and was seen by Qin Fei. She and Yang Ming squatted in the big truck together, pretending to be a young couple to catch Qin Afu. She drank with Yang Ming at the Wang family's base, and something almost happened after that. Xia Shua didn't know if she liked Yang Ming, but this was a boy that she didn't reject in her heart. If it was possible to take a step further, Xia Shua thought that she wouldn't reject it. However, thinking about Yang Ming, he was really fickle. Even if he had some special abilities that were valued by her brother, he couldn't be like this. I really don't know how Qin Mengyan tolerated it. Now it seems that she doesn't care very much. Xia Shua was a little dizzy. Although she wasn't a stubborn person who couldn't accept this situation, she just felt a little uncomfortable. However, a while ago, her brother suddenly told her that he would go to Yunnan with Yang Ming to perform a mission. Xia Shua's heart was inexplicably excited. Although she also knew that this trip to Yunnan would be very dangerous, Xia Shua didn't know why she felt very at ease with Yang Ming's company. It was as if Yang Ming would hold up the sky even if it collapsed. She was looking forward to it. She even couldn't wait. Xia Bingbao was very surprised that his sister actually agreed to this mission so quickly. In the past, he wanted to arrange for his sister to enter the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, but she didn't agree. She wanted to be a policewoman herself. Why was it so easy now? Xia Bingbao thought that he had to use his father's words to pressure Xia Shua. Now it seemed that it was unnecessary. Xia Shua didn't say anything and agreed. In fact, Xia Shua to the mission, to the trip with Yang was a trip. After agreeing, Xia Shua thought, since I'm going to perform the mission with Yang Ming, I'm also considered a teammate. No matter what, the two of us need to cultivate tacit understanding and feelings in advance, right? This way, they could better perform the mission. Before leaving, Yang Ming should at least invite me for a meal to reward me as a teammate. However, after waiting for a long time, Xia Shui didn't receive a call from Yang Ming. Xia Shui was a little disappointed. When she was on the phone with her brother, she asked about Yang Ming's recent situation intentionally or unintentionally. She learned that Yang Ming didn't have any missions recently, but was preparing for his departure in Songjiang City. She was a little confused. This damn Yang Ming. Why didn't he discuss it with me before he left? He even said that he was my long-term meal ticket. If that was the case, I would have starved to death. Therefore, Xia Shui was very angry. She wanted to find Yang Ming to reason with him, but she was too embarrassed to take the initiative to call Yang Ming. Could it be that the call was to ask Yang Ming to treat her to a meal? This Xia Shui couldn't open her mouth. When Xia Shui was very confused, she received a call from Yang Ming. It had to be said that Xia Shui's heart was a little overjoyed. Hello. I'm Xia Shui from the criminal investigation team. Although Xia Shui was very excited, her face was the same as usual. She didn't show any inappropriate behavior, but she spoke in a formal manner. I'm Yang Ming. Yang Ming thought that Xia Shui didn't see the caller ID, so he didn't mind. Are you free now? Oh, let me see. Xia Shui was surprised. Yang Ming is willing to ask me out. However, she still pretended to look at the work list. After a while, she said, I don't have anything to do now. What do you want to do? Then, why don't you come to the beach? Said Yang Ming. Beach? Xia Shui's heart moved. Why does Yang Ming want to ask me to go to the beach? Is he looking for me to go on a date? Thinking of this, Xia Shui's heart was nervous and excited. Now. I caught 2 robbers. They should be repeat offenders. You come and receive them. Yang Ming said. Ah. Xia Shui was stunned after listening to Yang Ming's words. Yang Ming caught 2 robbers. He asked me to go to receive the robbers, not to ask me out. Xia Shui was a little annoyed, but she couldn't vent it to Yang Ming because Yang Ming didn't do anything wrong. It was reasonable for him to ask her to receive the robbers. It was just that she misunderstood. Xia Shui was very angry, but she could only endure her anger and said to Yang Ming, Okay, I got it. I will bring people over now. Along the way, Xia Shui's face was very gloomy, so the police officers who were on duty with Xia Shui thought that some serious case had happened. They didn't dare to say anything and followed Xia Shui to the beach. Everyone was on alert with their hands on their guns, looking around vigilantly. However, after Xia Shui got out of the car, she recovered her smile. Yang Ming, I haven't seen you for a long time. We just met, and you are already looking for trouble for me. Isn't this helping you catch the criminals? It is reasonable to say that this matter isn't under our department at all. Yang Ming also smiled. If I didn't consider giving you some credit, I would have executed these 2 people directly when they robbed me. I wouldn't have waited for you. The short robber couldn't help but be stunned after listening to Yang Ming's words. What does Yang Ming mean? In front of the police, he dares to say that he wants to kill me. His courage is really big, right? However, he didn't recognize the situation in front of him, but he shouted to Xia Shui, Police comrade, I want to report. What do you want to report? Xia Shui was stunned. She looked inexplicably at the 2 robbers who were knocked to the ground by Yang Ming. I want to report this person. He used lynching indiscriminately and deliberately hurt us. Not only did he beat us, but after we were captured, he also used a stun baton to shock us. the short robber shouted. Oh, then you really have to rejoice. It's good that he didn't kill you. Xia Shui nodded and said, his department is better than mine. I can't control him. If he killed you on the spot, it would be for nothing. Who asked you to attack the agent? Chapter 1959. Attack an agent. The tall and short robber was a little dumbfounded. How did I become the one who attacked an agent? Aren't these two people ordinary lovers? They were still students a few years ago, and now they are agents. How is this possible? However, the words of the police couldn't be deceiving them, right? The two robbers suddenly withered and didn't speak. It seemed that this time, they really kicked an iron plate. The two people were a little sad. Looking at Yang Ming staring at him like a tiger, the short robber was suddenly scared. He remembered Xia Shui's words. Even if he killed you on the spot, it would be useless. He quickly begged Xia Shui, police comrade, you have to save me. Why is he looking at me with that kind of eyes? Does he want to kill me? Xia Shui was a little dumbfounded. She waved her hand impatiently and let her subordinates take the tall and short robber to the police car first. Then, she turned to look at Yang Ming. However, when she saw the girl next to Yang Ming, she was stunned. Who is this? Why haven't I seen her before? Is she Yang Ming's new girlfriend? However, why is Yang Ming alone with her at the beach? Does Chen Mengyan know? Thinking of this, Xia Shui felt a little injustice for Chen Mengyan. Yang Ming is going to leave soon. Why isn't he concentrating on accompanying his girlfriend at home? Why did he come to the beach to pick up girls? Isn't this a bit too outrageous? Yang Ming, aren't you going to introduce her to me? Xia Shui's heart was a little sour. Her words were a little displeased. Anyway, now that her colleagues had already boarded the car, she was the only one left here. Xia Shui didn't care. This is Suya, my first girlfriend. Yang Ming introduced her to Xia Shui generously. Anyway, Suya was using Suya's appearance, so he wasn't afraid that Xia Shui would see any clues. Xia Shui was stunned after listening to Yang Ming's introduction. First girlfriend. The one opposite is Yang Ming's first girlfriend. Wasn't his first girlfriend Chen Mengyan? Even if it wasn't Chen Mengyan, it should be Lin Jiyun, right? Why was there another first love? What's wrong? Yang Ming looked at Xia Shui's strange reaction and asked with some doubt. Nothing, wasn't your first love Chen Mengyan? Xia Shui also intentionally mentioned Chen Mengyan's name in front of Suya. It was also to bring some ill feelings to Suya. No, she was earlier than Mengyan. Mengyan also knew about it. How could Yang Ming not understand Xia Shui's meaning? Therefore, he simply explained generously. Chen Mengyan knows. Xia Shui was stunned and said with some jealousy, you have quite a lot of girlfriends. It's all right. Yang Ming nodded. Then, you continue with your work. I'm leaving. Xia Shui saw that Yang Ming didn't seem to put her in his eyes at all. She stomped her feet with some resentment, turned and left, and walked to the police car. Yang Ming looked at Xia Shui's back and sighed. Yang Ming wasn't a fool about Xia Shui's thoughts. Now, Yang Ming had matured a lot. He could grasp a girl's thoughts more accurately than before. However, although Yang Ming knew Xia Shui's thoughts, he didn't say much. After all, now wasn't the time to comfort Xia Shui. Never mind that there was nothing between him and Xia Shui. Their relationship was just a little ambiguous. Even if there was something, there were so many things at home now. How could Yang Ming have time to accompany Xia Shui? In fact, when he went to Yunnan to perform the mission, he had to be with Xia Shui. He had time to accompany her on the road. How could Yang Ming waste the little time at home? She likes you. Looking at Xia Shui's back as she left, Suya looked at Yang Ming, smiled, and asked. It should be. Yang Ming didn't deny it and nodded. He was going to Yunnan soon. Since Suya had seen through some things, Yang Ming didn't have to hide it from her. It could be said that Suya was the person who knew most of his secrets. Yang Ming instinctively had a sense of intimacy with her. Even if Xiao Qin and Xia Bingbao knew that he could see through things, they definitely didn't know that he could disguise himself. This was Yang Ming's ultimate trump card. Yang Ming wouldn't easily show it to others. Then, do you like her? Asked Suya. Hee hee. Yang Ming smiled, but he didn't hide it and nodded. I have some feelings. Then, before you leave, you should spend more time with her. Suya wasn't jealous. Instead, she advised Yang Ming, otherwise, you will definitely regret it after you leave. That won't happen. Yang Ming shook his head and smiled. This time, Xia Shui is going to Yunnan with me. Do you think I still need to accompany her? Ah. She is going with you. Are you serious? Suya was stunned. She looked at Yang Ming with some surprise. Aren't you going to perform a very dangerous mission? She is a policewoman, not an agent. How can she be with you? Although she's not a special agent, her brother is my immediate superior, and her family seems to be working in my department. She's the only exception, so it seems that her family is preparing for her to go out and gain experience. Yang Ming still had a general understanding of Xia Shui's life experience, but he learned this from Xia Bingbao later. As for before, Yang Ming really didn't expect Xia Shui to have such a background. When he saw Xia Shui's second uncle driving a taxi in the city, Yang Ming just thought that Xia Shui was from an ordinary family. He only knew a little about it when he met Xia Bingbao later. I see. I didn't expect her to have such a big background. Suya nodded. Over the years, you have known a lot of girls, and each of them is very good. Hee hee, are you angry? Yang Ming knew that Suya wasn't angry. If she was angry, she wouldn't say this. Since Suya could say this, it showed that she had accepted all this calmly in her heart. How can it be? I'm not by your side. I can't accompany you. They just happened to replace me. Suya shrugged. However, I really regret it. If I knew there would be such a day, I would have quit the entertainment industry. It's not like I won't come back. Yang Ming said, just wait for me. I will definitely come back safely. And I believe. Suya nodded. Yang Ming and Suya's atmosphere was ruined by the two robbers, so they didn't have the mood to continue to wander around the beach. The two people returned to the parking place and got in the car. Yang Ming took Suya back to the villa in the Huashang district. Chen Mengyan, Zhou Jiejie, and Lin Jiyun were already waiting at home. When Yang Ming and Suya came back, they had already prepared the meal. Yang Ming, Sister Suya, you are back. Chen Mengyan wore an apron and walked out of the kitchen. When she saw Yang Ming and Suya coming back, she was suddenly happy. The meal will be ready soon. You can come and eat after you pack up. Chapter 1960. Should I go and help? Suya couldn't directly eat the ready-made food. Although she could be regarded as a guest, she didn't regard herself as a guest. Now, she was also one of the hostesses of the villa. No need, Sister Suya. You're the boss. These should be done by us, the second wives. Chen Mengyan smiled. Suya was suddenly embarrassed after listening to Chen Mengyan's words. She was a little embarrassed. Mengyan, what are you talking about? Didn't we already agree that we don't need to distinguish between each other? Besides, what kind of first wife am I? I'm just a temporary guest. Yang Ming saw that Suya and Chen Mengyan were getting along well, so he was relieved. If they still quarreled with each other before he left, then Yang Ming really wouldn't have a peace of mind. Suya had restored her original appearance at the moment, but she didn't tell Chen Mengyan that she could change her appearance. She just said that she used a disguise technique, but Chen Mengyan didn't doubt it. Although Chen Mengyan didn't let Suya come over to help, Suya still helps Chen Mengyan after taking off her clothes. In fact, there was only the last step of the meal. As long as it was placed on the table, Suya helped to arrange it. Yang Ming was happy to eat the ready-made food. He glanced at the busy Suya, Chen Mengyan, Zhou Jiejie, and Lin Jiyun. Yang Ming suddenly felt that he was enjoying it. The happiest time in life was this. Yang Ming really had an impulse to retire from the underworld. If he could, he would take his woman, family, and friends to live in seclusion on Island X. However, there was always a gap between reality and ideals. Yang Ming had to accept reality and do something that he didn't want to do, but he had to do it. This was a person's responsibility and obligation. He wasn't an irresponsible person. If he didn't go on this trip to Yunnan, then no one could do anything to him. At most, he could just leave and take his family to Island X. With Yang Ming's connections, he could even reach Island X without going through the formal channels. After going to Island X, it would be Yang Ming's private territory. Yang Ming had an unusual relationship with many celebrities in Europe. Not to mention the old Buffon family, the Butterfly family, and the Charles family had a close relationship with Yang Ming. But Yang Ming did not do this. He went to Yunnan. This was what a man. During dinner, the atmosphere was very cheerful because of Suya's participation. At first, Suya was still not used to it, but after a long time, Suya also integrated into this small family. She was familiar with Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun. She was also classmates with Zhou Jiejie. Usually, the four of them chatted happily on the internet. When they had nothing to do, they would call and text each other. So, it was only the initial unfamiliarity. After that, they were like sisters who hadn't seen each other for many years. They couldn't be more familiar with each other. Yang Ming was also happy to see such a scene. After dinner, Suya even took the initiative to offer a few songs to liven up everyone's mood. Among them, there was a new song that had not yet been published. The three fans of Chen Mengyan, Zhou Jiejie, and Lin Jiyun were very excited. They were probably the three fans closest to the big star. I'm tired. Let's go to rest. Chen Mengyan looked at the time and took the initiative to take Lin Jiyun and Zhou Jiejie upstairs. She left the space downstairs to Yang Ming and Suya. There were also guest rooms on the first floor. The nanny, Auntie Li, had gone home and hadn't come back yet. So, at this moment, the entire first floor was left with Yang Ming and Suya. Ha! They are really direct. Yang Ming was a little embarrassed. Suya was also a little shy and nodded. In this atmosphere, Suya was also very shy. Although she had already made up her mind to give herself to Yang Ming, that was also in the case where there were no outsiders. Now, Chen Mengyan, Zhou Jiejie, and Lin Jiyun were upstairs. She was really a little embarrassed. Who knew, in a while, would Chen Mengyan, Zhou Jiejie, and Lin Jiyun come to make trouble? Then what are we going to do now? Yang Ming shrugged and looked at Suya. Whatever you say, then do it. Suya didn't have the courage before. Looking at Yang Ming, her beautiful eyes showed a burst of tenderness. Then let's go to the room and talk first. Yang Ming suggested. Suya nodded. At this moment, Suya had been waiting for a long time. Sometimes when she dreamed, she would imagine that one day she would become Yang Ming's bride. Everything was so beautiful in the bridal chamber. Although there were some differences between reality and dreams, there was no grand wedding, and there were no candles in the room, but Suya was still so happy. Those things, in Suya's view, were flashy but impractical. Only the Yangming in front of her was real. This was the person she missed in her dreams for many days and nights. She originally thought that she would never see him again in this life. However, the bizarre fate of life put the two people together again. At the most critical moment, Yangming appeared and saved her from the hands of the bad guys. If all this wasn't God's arrangement, then what was? Suya felt that she was very lucky. She could actually meet Yangming again after many years. Moreover, she met Yangming under such circumstances. The person in the dream was still the same, but she had become another person. Now, the two people finally came together again. Moreover, from this moment on, the two people's hearts would always be integrated and intertwined. The future was beautiful and worth looking forward to, wasn't it? Suya believed that tomorrow would be better. Even if Yangming went on a mission, she would be like a little wife waiting for her husband to come home. She would pray for her husband's safety and hope that he would come back soon. Suya felt that she was very happy and lucky. How many people's first love died young? How many people didn't find their lover in their whole life? How many people died alone and regretted their whole life? Fortunately, she met Yangming again and became his woman. Yangming, I love you as always, just like the moment we separated. My heart has never changed. Suya raised her head and looked at her beloved man in front of her. She said each word clearly. Yangming listened to Suya's affectionate confession and couldn't help but feel ashamed. Yes, although he had always loved Suya, in fact, he had betrayed her. Although Suya didn't say anything, the more it was like this, the more bitter Yangming felt in his heart. Chapter 1961. Chen Mengyan, Zhou Jiejie, Lin Jiyun, Lan Ling, and so on. A series of girls were intertwined in his fate and life. It made Yangming feel like he was in a dream. When he woke up, he realized that he had hurt Suya. Although Suya didn't say anything, and she didn't seem to care about these, Yangming's heart was very uncomfortable. That was a kind of guilt toward Suya. Although Yangming wasn't to blame for the original incident, Suya wasn't wrong. She was also a victim. She could hold on to her love in that stubborn persistence, but why couldn't I? Why did I fall? If it weren't for the persuasion of Qin Mengyan and Zhao Ying, I'm afraid that I would still be a little punk with no achievements, right? But Suya had become a big star in the limelight. This was the difference between her and me. This made Yangming blush after listening to Suya's confession. I'm sorry, Suya. Why did you suddenly say this? Suya was stunned. She looked at Yangming with some surprise. She didn't understand why Yangming suddenly said sorry. She was confessing to him, but he suddenly said sorry. No matter how she looked at it, it made Suya feel weird. It was as if he had rejected her confession. It was no wonder that Suya would think so. After all, in reality, many men and women would say sorry after one party confessed. Didn't that mean that the other party refused? Although Suya knew that Yangming couldn't mean this, otherwise, what would Yangming do? He tricked me into bed, and then he said sorry. Isn't that forcing me to commit suicide? However, Suya's heart still skipped a beat. She cared too much about Yangming. Suya cared about every word of Yangming. Therefore, after Yangming said sorry, Suya's heart suddenly felt a little perturbed. You love me so much and still love me, but I couldn't be loyal to you. I feel a little sorry for you in my heart. Yangming sighed and said, although I know you don't blame me, I still feel a little uncomfortable. Yangming, in fact, I'll tell you the truth. I didn't care about this at all. Suya finally understood why Yang Ming said sorry, so she said, I love you, so I love everything about you. Including your lover. From the beginning to the end, I had been in contact with Meng Yan, Jiyun, and Jiejia with this mentality. From the first time I saw Meng Yan and invited her to perform on the same stage, I had already expressed my intentions. Therefore, I never cared about it. I didn't want to compete with them. I just wanted to get along well with them. This was the first time that Suya told Yang Ming her intentions so straightforwardly. She didn't have the opportunity to say it before, and she didn't want to say it because everyone got along well. She didn't need to say this. It seemed like she was pretending to be generous, and it would cause Yang Ming to be disgusted. However, at this moment, she couldn't let it go when she saw Yang Ming. Suya didn't know whether to laugh or cry as she told Yang Ming her intentions. Suya, thank you. How could Yang Ming not know Suya's intentions? However, knowing her intentions was one thing. After knowing her intentions, he felt even more sorry for her. Yang Ming looked at Suya and didn't know what to say for a while. Why? Why are you looking at me? Suya was stared at by Yang Ming, and she felt a little weird. Nothing. Yang Ming sighed. Since Suya had already said this, then if Yang Ming continued to be entangled, it would ruin the atmosphere. So, Yang Ming smiled and said, it's still early. Why don't we do something else? Do what? Suya asked with a red face. You know. Yang Ming smiled. But can you do it? Why can't I? Won't you know if you try? Suya's face was even redder. Upstairs, Chen Mengyan, Zhou Jiejia, and Lin Jiyun were sitting around the bed. The three of them said that they were going to rest, but in fact, no one went to rest. They were all curious about what was going to happen between Yang Ming and Suya. Jiejia, do you think they have started? Chen Mengyan looked at the time on the clock and asked with a smile, you know this better, how would I know? Zhou Jiejia said with a red face, didn't you all have your first time? Why are you asking me? Yang Ming and I are an old couple. There is no atmosphere. Everything seems to be natural. It's not as abrupt as them. Chen Mengyan explained with a red face, so I can only ask you. Then why don't you ask Sister Lin? After Zhou Jiejia finished speaking, she suddenly thought of it. Sister Lin's first time, I'm afraid she didn't even know what it was like. Sure enough, Lin Jiyun shook her head with a red face. At that time, I was completely knocked out and thrown into the hotel. How would I know what was going on? I lost my virginity in a daze and almost sued Yang Ming. Fortunately, you said afterward that Yang Ming was your boyfriend. Otherwise, Yang Ming would really be in jail. Thinking of this matter, Chen Mengyan also sighed. Sometimes, many things were decided in a single thought. A slight deviation could make a big difference. Originally, I wanted to give it to him. After I found out that it was him, I naturally wouldn't pursue any responsibility. Lin Jiyun said with a red face, so, let's ask Jiejia. Only she knows best, so, Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun turned to look at Zhou Jiejia at the same time. Why don't we go down and see? Zhou Jiejia was somewhat helpless and had to say it. Eavesdrop. Chen Mengyan felt that this was a good idea, but she was afraid that it would affect Yang Ming and Suya. Isn't it too good? Suya finally came back. If we disturb them, won't Suya hate us? Lin Jiyun shook her head. She didn't want to eavesdrop. I think so too. Zhou Jiejia began to go back on her words. Forget it. Let's sleep. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Chen Mengyan also felt that it wasn't appropriate, so she pulled Lin Jiyun and Zhou Jiejia to fall on the bed together, but who could really fall asleep? This was destined to be another sleepless night. Chen Mengyan, Zhou Jiejie, and Lin Jiyun were lying on the bed, but they didn't fall asleep immediately. Instead, they were discussing the bits and pieces after knowing Yang Ming. Everyone had different stories. Now that they were telling each other, it was a different feeling. In the middle of the night, they finally couldn't help it. They tiptoed out of the bedroom and went downstairs to Yang Ming and Suya's room. How sensitive were Yang Ming's senses? Any movement in the wind couldn't escape his eyes and ears. Yang Ming, who heard the sound, suddenly woke up. However, after he used his X-ray vision to look outside the room, he suddenly felt relieved. Chapter 1962. Early the next morning, all the girls' faces were red. Only Yang Ming sat at the table and ate breakfast. "Aren't you eating together?" asked Yang Ming. "You eat first." "We won't eat." Chen Mengyan glanced at Yang Ming and said, "We will eat after you finish eating. Sister Suya is leaving in a while. Let's talk to her more." Yang Ming also knew that Suya was leaving soon. After all, Suya had a lot of things to do. She came here this time because she postponed a lot of things on hand and came back at the last minute. However, before she completely quit the entertainment industry, there were still some things to deal with. Now, Suya's agent and company were very anxious and kept urging her to go back. Yesterday, Yang Ming and Suya also talked for a long time. Before he returned safely, Suya would stay in the entertainment industry to develop her own career. When Yang Ming settled down, she would gradually withdraw. In fact, Yang Ming was also giving Suya a career to do so that she would miss him less. Even if he couldn't come back, Suya would have a career that would buffer her from losing her mind. The music was over, and the people dispersed. There was always a time to say goodbye. After breakfast, Yang Ming drove and sent Suya to the airport in Donghai City. At this time, Suya had to restore her identity as the big star Suya because all her credentials were Shuya's, not Suya's. Suya's identity had completely disappeared. Her new identity in Hong Kong was Shuya. Chen Mengyan, Lin Jiyun, and Zhou Jiejie didn't go to send Suya off. They said that they were going to the school to see how Fan Jinja's matter was handled. However, they also wanted to give Yang Ming and Suya more space and time. The two were about to be separated. Chen Mengyan and the others couldn't bear to join in the fun. Watching Yang Ming's car leave, Chen Mengyan, Zhou Jiejie, and Lin Jiyun got into Chen Mengyan's Audi A5 together. "Sister Mengyan, did you contact Lan Ling?" Zhou Jiejie asked after getting in the car. "Of course, I contacted her. With you, a little hacker, helping me find Lan Ling's contact information, how can I let you work for nothing?" Chen Mengyan smiled and said, "I have already contacted her. Today's flight to Donghai after Yang Ming sends Sister Suya, he can see Lan Ling. Then will Yang Ming be very surprised." Lin Jiyun smiled happily after listening. Yang Ming was happy, and she was also happy. Although she was a little silly, she enjoyed it. There should be a surprise. Chen Mengyan shrugged. "This is also the only thing we can do for Yang Ming before he leaves. I hope that he can leave happily without any regrets or worries. Only then can he concentrate on the task. So we can't drag him down." "Sister Mengyan, you are so generous." Zhou Jiejie sighed and said. "Aren't you talking nonsense? If I wasn't generous, would you be able to live in the villa?" Chen Mengyan was a little dumbfounded. "Are you saying that I am stingy?" "That's not it." Zhou Jiejie smiled and shook her head. "Right, what kind of girl is Lan Ling? Is she easy to get along with?" "We haven't contacted her before. Only you, Sister Mengyan, have called her. We don't know if we can get along with her after meeting her." Although Lin Jiyun didn't speak, it was obvious that this was the problem she was most concerned about. As Yang Ming's woman, she naturally hoped that she could get along with Yang Ming's other women. Therefore, she also looked at Chen Mengyan nervously, waiting for her answer. From the voice on the phone, Lan Ling should be a girl who is not scheming. She is very cute, and her mouth is very sweet. She has no hostility to me. Chen Mengyan said, I told her that Yang Ming was going to Yunnan. She was very excited and thanked me. She said that she must treat me to a big meal. Ha, but I am relieved. At least, we won't have any unpleasant things. Chen Mengyan nodded with some relief. However, I have been mentally prepared before. Even if Lan Ling doesn't give me a good look, I can only endure it. At most, I won't contact her in the future. Out of sight, out of mind, as Chen Mengyan spoke, she started the car and drove in the direction of the school. In the school, Fan Jinja had completely become a joke. Until now, Fan Jinja had completely given up. After the competition between Yang Ming and Feng Xibiao yesterday, Feng Juning had offended the entire school because of his previous words. As a result, Feng Juning was surrounded by angry students before he could sneak out of the stadium. At this moment, fists could no longer calm the anger in their hearts. They had already used more advanced weapons, bricks and iron bars. As a result, the unlucky Feng Juning was directly beaten half to death. When the school's security team arrived, the students dispersed. Although the matter was very big, the school didn't know who hit him. Moreover, Feng Juning was a person who had been released from prison outside the school. The school would not stand up for such a person. The security team sent Feng Juning to the hospital out of humanitarianism and left him alone. This scared Fan Jinja. He didn't expect these students to be so fierce. They dared to hit people with bricks. Wouldn't it be dangerous if he went out? He had promised the bet. If Feng Xibiao lost, he, Fan Jinja, would have to run naked and give up his pursuit of Zhao Ying forever. For Fan Jinja, giving up his pursuit was nothing. In the current situation, he had no face to pursue Zhao Ying. This challenge could be said to be shooting himself in the foot. Not only did it not achieve the desired effect, but he also lost face. However, it was impossible for him to run naked. If he were to run naked, how could he continue to mingle in the school? Not to mention in the school, he would probably be famous in Songjiang City. When people mentioned Fan Jinja, they would association about him being the school streaker. Therefore, Fan Jinja would definitely not choose to run naked. He wanted to go out and hide for a while. When the matter was over and everyone had forgotten about this matter, he would return to the school. Anyway, the graduate course was not very tight, and there would not be any roll call. Previously, he was scared by Yang Ming that he was possessed by a resentful spirit. He had not been in school for a long time, so there was no problem. However, just as he wanted to sneak out of the school to take refuge, bad news came. Feng Juning was beaten until he was disabled and sent directly to the hospital. The first report on the campus forum was about this incident. A person who looked like a bloody gourd was lying on the slate of the playground. If Fan Jinja didn't recognize him as Feng Juning from his clothes, Fan Jinja wouldn't even recognize who he was. He didn't look like a human at all. Chapter 1963. Fan Jinja's hands were paralyzed on the spot. His hand that was holding the mouse was trembling, and he could barely move it. Damn, why is it so fierce? Fan Jinja wanted to cry. He didn't expect things to get so out of hand. It was completely out of his control. Thinking of this, Fan Jinja quickly dispelled his plan to sneak out now. After calming down for a while, Fan Jinja continued to look at the posts on the forum. However, the second post was Fan Jinja's arrest warrant. Fan Jinja did not appear after the competition, so after watching the game in the stadium, the angry students began to look for Fan Jinja. They wanted him to fulfill his promise and run around the campus naked. But after searching for a long time, they could not find him, so the arrest warrant was issued. Fortunately, Fan Jinja lived in a separate room in the graduate student building. Very few people knew that he lived here. Usually, the students in the graduate student building were divided into different departments, so there was very little communication. Therefore, no one could find the graduate student dormitory for a while. However, even if they could not find him now, it did not mean that they could not find him in the future. As a matter of fact, the student search ability was very strong. Fan Jinja felt that it was no longer safe for him to stay in the dormitory. Besides, he couldn't stay in the dormitory forever, right? However, he did not dare to go out now because it was also very dangerous outside. Everyone was waiting for him to run around naked. If he went out now, he was afraid that he would be caught by the students who were waiting to see him make a fool of himself. Therefore, Fan Jinja felt that it was better to wait for the limelight to die down before leaving at night. In a short time, the students would not be able to find the graduate student dormitory. However, Fan Jinja underestimated the perseverance of these students. Many students simply did not sleep at night. They spontaneously formed a patrol team to catch Fan Jinja and walked around the campus. After Fan Jinja saw the tracking report on the internet, he secretly felt lucky that he did not go out. Otherwise, if he sneaked out alone in the middle of the night, he would be immediately caught as a suspicious target. These people are really patient. They even came out at night to catch me. Fan Jinja cursed a few times, turned off the computer, and went to sleep. He planned to leave the next day. Anyway, no one could find the graduate student luxury dormitory now, so he was not very worried. After a night, Fan Jinja turned on the computer and went online to check the latest news. As a result, he did not know, but he was shocked when he saw it. In the human search post about him, someone had revealed that Fan Jinja was living in the graduate student luxury dormitory. Although it was just a reply and had not attracted anyone's attention yet, Fan Jinja knew very well that if this continued, he would be exposed sooner or later. Therefore, Fan Jinja did not dare to wait any longer. He planned to put on some makeup and sneak out of school during the day when there were many people. Fan Jinja disguised himself as the head of the Secret Service and sneaked out of the graduate student's luxury apartment building. Fortunately, although many civilian patrols were spontaneously organized to search for Fan Jinja was not a public figure after all. He did not appear in public when he posted before, so not many people knew him. Previously, no one thought that he could win. In fact, he did not win. Therefore, there was only one photo of Fan Jinja on the flyer about the competition between him and Yang Ming. Now, these people searching for Fan Jinja could only find Fan Jinja with a flyer each. Therefore, Fan Jinja, who was wearing sunglasses and a cap, easily avoided these people's search and successfully walked to the school gate. Fan Jinja was secretly happy. "You idiots, I'm wearing makeup. Let's see what you can do. Go ahead and look for him. I'll tire you to death. I'm leaving." Fan Jinja was very happy seeing that he was getting closer to the parking lot at the school gate. "No one can catch me when I get in the car. 300 meters, 200 meters, 100 meters. Fan Jinja saw his Honda Accord. He subconsciously quickened his pace and ran quickly to his car. Chen Mengyan drove Zhou Jiejia and Lin Jiyun to the school. She was about to park the car in the parking lot at the school gate. She had just found a parking space and was about to park the car. Unexpectedly, a person came out from the left side and rushed to a black car next to the parking space that Chen Mengyan was going to park. Chen Mengyan was shocked. She saw this person before, but according to this person's speed, it was impossible for him to touch Chen Mengyan. Who would have thought that this person would suddenly speed up and run over here? Chen Mengyan subconsciously stepped on the brakes, but it was too late. Because she was too close to the person in front, she still hit the person with a bang and knocked him down. Fan Jinja screamed and fell out. Not only were his legs hurt from being hit by Chen Mengyan's car, but his butt was also hurt from the fall. Fan Jinja was furious. "How do you drive? Didn't you see me?" If it were any other time, he would have jumped up and beat the driver up. But now, he was afraid of exposing his identity. He didn't dare to argue with the car owner. He could only admit that he was unlucky. Fan Jinja got up from the ground gloomily. He didn't say much and hobbled to his car. However, while he admitted that he was unlucky, some people didn't think so. Chen Fei was an upright person. Chen Mengyan was also very upright since she was a child under the influence of her father. She naturally wouldn't ignore or shirk the responsibility when she hit someone. Chen Mengyan was shocked when she saw that she had hit someone. But after she reacted, she quickly got out of the car and ran to the person who was hit. "How are you? Is there anything wrong? Don't move. I'll call an ambulance for you." "Ha!" Fan Jinja was stunned. He didn't expect that he actually knew the person who hit him. It was Yang Ming's girlfriend, Chen Mengyan. Fan Jinja couldn't help but feel that he was unlucky. Motherfucker, of all people, why did I have to bump into Chen Mengyan? Please don't let her out. Fan Jinja was not afraid of the students who were searching for him with flyers. After all, they only had a photo. Once he disguised himself, they wouldn't recognize him. Wasn't that the case now? Just by wearing a pair of sunglasses and a baseball cap, he had successfully fooled those patrolmen. Chapter 1964. However, this was only applicable to those who were not familiar with him. Those who were familiar with Fan Jinja might not be able to recognize him from a distance, but they would be able to see the flaws when they looked at him up close. Fan Jinja had been in contact with Chen Mengyan before. In the resort, he even brought Chen Mengyan to catch adulterers. Therefore, Fan Jinja was suddenly a little scared. Chen Mengyan better not recognize me. If she recognizes me, then wouldn't I be unable to escape? He believed that Chen Mengyan definitely wanted him to run naked. After all, Chen Mengyan was Yang Ming's girlfriend. She would definitely support the students in the school. How would he know that Chen Mengyan left the school early yesterday and did not care about the follow-up matters at all? Chen Mengyan also did not know that the students in the school were searching for Fan Jinja. However, Fan Jinja was guilty. He was instinctively afraid when he saw Chen Mengyan, so he lowered his head and did not dare to look at Chen Mengyan. He was afraid that she would recognize him. He only said vaguely, "I'm fine. I'm fine." In fact, if he revealed his identity and said that he was fine, Chen Mengyan might really let him go. After all, Chen Mengyan knocked him down. She would not mention those unpleasant things out of guilt. However, Fan Jinja did not think so. He thought that Chen Mengyan knew everything, so he avoided her. He did not want Chen Mengyan to continue pestering him. "This won't do. I knocked you down. I have to go and take a look. Even if you don't call an ambulance, you should go to the school's hospital. Don't hurt your muscles or bones." Chen Mengyan did not expect Fan Jinja to say that he was fine even though he was limping. She was a little confused. "I said no need. It's fine. Let me go quickly. I have something urgent." Fan Jinja was a little anxious. This Chen Mengyan is too much. Even I, who was hit, said that I was fine. Why are you so anxious when you hit someone? Look, you're limping when you walk. How can you be fine? Chen Mingyan's heart was very kind. Seeing Fan Jinja limping, how could she let him go just like that? Her conscience would feel uneasy if that were to happen. Fuck. Fan Jinja was really impatient. Are you fucking done? I've already said that I'm fine, yet you're still dawdling. Is there something wrong with you? How can you talk like that? Sister Mengyan is also concerned about you. After all, it's our fault. But why don't you appreciate it? Zhou Jiejia and Lin Jiyun also got out of the car at this time. They happened to hear Fan Jinja's words, so Zhou Jiejia said with some resentment. Fuck, I already said that I'm fine. Why do you still care? Are you done yet? Fan Jinja was very anxious. The dispute between the two had attracted a lot of students. He just wanted to leave quickly. Otherwise, there might be some problems. What's going on? Who knows what's going on? Two school security guards squeezed over, followed by some students who were watching the scene. It's these girls who hit the boy with their car. A student who was watching said to the security guard. Oh, you're still in the right after hitting someone. Even if they are girls, you can't be unreasonable. Hurry up and send the injured to the school hospital for treatment. The security guard saw that the car was driven by a few beautiful girls and sighed in his heart. It's another child from a rich family. But you can't be so arrogant when you hit someone, right? We're unreasonable. Chen Mengyan didn't know whether to laugh or cry after hearing the security guard's words. We did want to take him to the school hospital for treatment, but he refused to go. He said he was fine. Look, he's already limping, huh? The security guard was stunned after hearing Chen Mingyan's words. It seems that I misunderstood the situation. It's not that these little girls are unreasonable, but it's the problem with the injured party. However, he couldn't believe the words of one party. Instead, he turned to look at Fan Jinja. Is that so? Yes, I'm fine. Let me go quickly. Fan Jinja was furious. This Chen Mengyan is really a busybody. I'm obviously fine, but she insisted on taking me to see a doctor. What kind of person is she? Classmate, you can't even walk properly. Why don't you go and have a look? After all, it's better to explain this kind of thing in person. Otherwise, if you find a problem later, you won't have anyone to reason with, right? The security guard advised kindly. No need means no need. Damn it, I don't need you to care even if I die. Hurry up and let me go. I'm in a hurry. Fan Jinja pushed away the security guard who stopped him and walked to his car. Classmate, you're being impulsive. You can't be young and impetuous. You can't act like a hero just because the other party is a few beautiful girls. That's not right. You should go and have a look. The security guard thought that Fan Jinja wanted to act like a hero, so he went forward and pulled Fan Jinja, not wanting to let him go. Get lost. Fan Jinja's lungs were about to explode. Why are these people pretending to be good people at this time? They really have nothing better to do. Fan Jinja waved his hand and wanted to push the security guard aside. However, because of the severe pain in his legs, he staggered and his body shook. The hat and glasses on his head all fell to the ground. Fan Jinja subconsciously wanted to pick them up. Fortunately, the surrounding students did not recognize him immediately. Everyone's mind was on the matter itself. No one would think that this person was Fan Jinja. However, there was someone who was very familiar with Fan Jinja. This person was Chen Mengyan. After she saw Fan Jinja, she couldn't help but be a little surprised. She said subconsciously, Fan Jinja. Why are you here? After Fan Jinja heard Chen Mingyan's words, he suddenly knew that something was wrong. He thought, this bitch is really pissing me off. You bumped into me, but I didn't care about it. You even exposed my identity. You're so hateful. Of course, Fan Jinja also knew that Chen Mengyan did not mean it. Otherwise, Chen Mengyan would not have kindly sent him to the hospital. I'm not. You must have mistaken me for someone else. Fan Jinja quickly shook his head and denied his identity. I don't know who Fan Jinja is. I've never heard of him. If Fan Jinja was just stunned and said that Chen Mengyan had mistaken him for someone else, or said, "What did you say?" If he pretended that he did not hear clearly, then no one would doubt him. However, Fan Jinja actually repeated himself, I don't know who Fan Jinja is. I've never heard of him. This was a bit of a problem. Fan Jinja could be said to be the most popular person in the school for a while. He was no less famous than Yang Ming. Especially yesterday and today, Fan Jinja's name had spread throughout the school. Everyone was looking for him. Even the aunties in the cafeteria were asking if a student named Fan Jinja had caused public outrage. Chapter 1965. Therefore, it was impossible to say that this person did not know Fan Jinja. When he said this, it attracted the attention of the students. Someone took out the flyer in his hand and compared it. He found that this person was very similar to Fan Jinja. So, this student exclaimed, he seems to be Fan Jinja. Everyone, catch him. Don't let him run away. Fan Jinja was frightened. He turned around and wanted to get into his car. However, before he could get into the car, he was held down by the students. Even the two security guards who wanted to stop them could not do anything at this moment. These students were too fierce. They rushed up directly and pushed Fan Jinja away. Chen Mengyan was a little dumbfounded. Zhou Jiejia and Lin Zhiyun on the side were also dumbfounded. They did not know what had happened. When these students were far away, Zhou Jiejia said with some surprise, Sister Mengyan, what happened? These people seem to have a deep hatred for Fan Jinja. Why did they push him away all of a sudden? I don't know. Who knows what happened? Chen Mengyan also shrugged inexplicably and said, no wonder Fan Jinja said that he was fine after being hit. It seems that he wants to escape from the school quickly. We have done something bad with good intentions. At this time, the two security guards also came over with a wry smile and said, you have indeed done something bad with good intentions. Now many students in the school are looking for Fan Jinja. No wonder he is in a hurry to leave. But why are they looking for him? Asked Chen Mengyan strangely. You don't know. The security guards also looked at Chen Mengyan strangely. Fan Jinja lost a bet yesterday, so the students want him to fulfill his promise and run naked. Ha! Is that so? Chen Mengyan was a little speechless. She did not expect it to be like this. Moreover, Yang Ming had already left. These students actually volunteered to supervise Fan Jinja to fulfill his promise for Yang Ming. Yeah. The security guard nodded, well, I won't talk to you anymore. We have to hurry back to the security room and mobilize more security guards to take a look. It's fine if it's just running naked, but don't make a big deal out of it. It will be hard to explain to the school leaders. With that said, the two security guards hurried away. Chen Mengyan could not help but smile. I didn't expect Yang Ming to be so popular in the school. There's nothing to see. It's not interesting. Chen Mengyan was not interested in whether Fan Jinja was naked. Zhou Jiejia nodded. She was just casually suggesting it. She did not mean to see it. The three locked the car and walked to the school's teaching building. But coincidentally, Chen Mengyan met Zhao Ying and Wang Xiaoyan on the way. Sister Ying, Wang Xiaoyan. Chen Mengyan took the initiative to greet them. Chen Mengyan had always respected Zhao Ying. She was also grateful for the help she gave to Yang Ming. She tutored Yang Ming every day, which allowed Yang Ming to be admitted to the university he was in now. Therefore, although Chen Mengyan called Zhao Ying Sister Ying, she respected Zhao Ying as an elder and teacher in her heart. Chen Mengyan had seen Wang Xiaoyan, the beautiful neighbor, a few times. She knew that she was also a student in the school, but they did not interact much. When they met, they just nodded. Although they were familiar with each other, they did not talk much. Mengyan. Zhao Ying's expression was a little unnatural after seeing Chen Mengyan. After all, the things that Yang Ming did these days were all for Zhao Ying. She was also afraid that Chen Mengyan would have some thoughts. Are you going to class? And I'm going to class. Chen Mengyan nodded and said, right, the people in the school found Fan Jinja. I heard that Fan Jinja went streaking. Sister Ying, don't you want to go and see? Ah. I won't go. Zhao Ying was shocked, but she was relieved when she saw that Chen Mengyan's expression was joking. She was now a little suspicious. She was afraid that Chen Mengyan would notice something wrong. Then we'll go first. Sister Ying, goodbye. Wang Xiaoyan, let's go. Chen Mengyan waved to Zhao Ying and Wang Xiaoyan and left with Zhou Jiejia and Lin Jiyun. Goodbye. Zhao Ying watched Chen Mengyan and others leave, and she was slightly relieved. Sister Ying, you are guilty. Wang Xiaoyan smiled, reached out, and pulled Zhao Ying. Of course, I'm guilty. You scared me. Zhao Ying shook her head. Every time I see Chen Mengyan, I feel a little uncomfortable in my heart. I feel like I'm sorry for her. There is no such thing as sorry in a relationship. If we count it, you and Yang Ming started it first. What are you afraid of? Wang Xiaoyan was a little resentful of Zhao Ying's scruples. Forget it, let's not talk about this. Zhao Ying sighed. Right, Mengyan just said that those people found Fan Jinja, and Fan Jinja went streaking. Should we go and see? Said Wang Xiaoyan. Forget it. I don't want to see him. What he does has nothing to do with me. Zhao Ying shook her head and was a little melancholy. Yang Ming was going to leave, and it was very dangerous. She couldn't tell others, and it made her feel very depressed. She could only share this with Wang Xiaoyan because Wang Xiaoyan also knew the truth. Yang Ming drove Suya to the Donghai City Airport, but this time he didn't let the driver, little Wang, go with him. After all, Suya's identity was a secret. Although Yang Ming trusted little Wang now, Yang Ming still had to be careful about this kind of thing. Moreover, he also enjoyed this kind of time when there were only the two of them. Yang Ming sent Suya to the security checkpoint. I'm leaving. Take care. Suya, who was fully armed, said to Yang Ming. She was hesitant. She was reluctant to leave, but they had to part in the end. And I know. You too. Yang Ming nodded. I hope that when I come back, your career can reach a higher level. Yang Ming said this to give Suya a goal to strive for. Before she had a breakthrough in her career, even if he didn't come back, she would not miss him too much. In fact, Suya's career had actually reached a peak. It would be very difficult for her to have a breakthrough. How smart was Suya? How could she not understand Yang Ming's intention? However, in order to let Yang Ming leave in peace, Suya didn't expose it. She just smiled and nodded, Chapter 1966. Looking at Suya's back as she walked through the security checkpoint until she disappeared from Yang Ming's sight, Yang Ming sighed. Farewell is inevitable. Yang Ming didn't use his X-ray vision to continue to look at Suya. Instead, he turned around and prepared to return to Songjiang City. He would leave tomorrow. Today was the last day. Yang Ming was going to go home to accompany Chen Mengyan, Lin Jiyun, and Zhou Jijia. Yang Ming was very grateful for Chen Mengyan's act of finding Suya before leaving. Chen Mengyan did this to show her magnanimity and broad-mindedness. However, he didn't know if Chen Mengyan would still have such magnanimity and broad-mindedness when facing Zhao Ying and the others. Yang Ming knew that Chen Mengyan had an identity barrier for Zhao Ying that couldn't be changed. This made Yang Ming very helpless. However, these things couldn't be changed before he left. He could only wait until he came back and explain to Chen Mengyan and the others. There was only one day left. Yang Ming didn't want to create more problems. He would pass this day peacefully. Tomorrow, he would embark on the journey. A mobile phone rang. Yang Ming was slightly stunned. The time when Suya entered the security checkpoint was almost the time to board the plane. At this time, she should be in line to board the plane. How could she call me? Could it be that Chen Mengyan called to ask if I sent Suya to the plane? Yang Ming quickly picked up the phone, but when he saw the caller ID, it was a very familiar number. It was only one digit away from Yang Ming's number. Yang Ming's hand that was holding the phone trembled a little. He was familiar with this number. This was the couple number that he registered with Lan Ling. Because Yang Ming could memorize it, he didn't save it in the mobile phone. This was also the number that Chen Mengyan wanted to find Lan Ling, but she couldn't find it in Yang Ming's mobile phone. In order to give him a surprise, and it wasn't good to ask him directly, she let Zhou Jijia use the means of hacking to check all of Yang Ming's call records. From the past call records, she analyzed this phone number that was only one digit away from Yang Ming's phone number. It was likely to be Lan Ling's. Although Chen Mengyan's heart when she saw that this phone number was a couple number with Yang Ming's, she quickly put down this little jealousy and returned to normal. She clearly knew what was important in her heart. She knew that this wasn't the time to be jealous. Yang Ming was going to leave. How could she cause trouble for him? Moreover, accepting Lan Ling was also a decision that Chen Mengyan had made long ago. She also told Yang Ming about this idea. At that time, Yang Ming was very touched and hugged her in the car. How could Chen Mengyan go back on her words? Wouldn't that make Yang Ming look down on her? Therefore, Chen Mengyan quickly adjusted her mentality and contacted Lan Ling. She sent a text message to her that Yang Ming was going to Yunnan. She didn't expect Lan Ling to really call her back. Moreover, they agreed to come back to Donghai City today. She would give Yang Ming a surprise then. Hello. Yang Ming took a deep breath and carefully picked up the phone. There was a feeling of unreality. Could it be that someone used some phone number changing software and called me as a joke? Because of this phone call, since Lan Ling left, she basically hadn't called him. Although there were occasional text messages, recently, the text messages were getting fewer and fewer. In the past 2 months, there was no text at all. Therefore, Yang Ming really didn't believe that this was a call from Lan Ling. In the market, there were also some hacking software that could change the caller ID. Even Zhou Jijia could easily do it. Yang Ming felt that this was a prank by someone else. But who would know Lan Ling's phone number? Who would simulate her phone number to call me? Yang Ming thought of this and then shook his head with a bitter smile. It wasn't necessary to know Lan Ling's phone number. Perhaps someone deliberately made a phone number that was one digit different to call me. It was just a coincidence that it was the same as Lan Ling's phone number. Guess who I am? On the phone, there was a voice that Yang Ming couldn't be more familiar with. It was a little playful and sweet. Ha! After Yang Ming was excited, he suddenly smiled. Ling Ling, is it really you? Oh, then guess where I am. Lan Ling saw that Yang Ming guessed it right, but she wasn't annoyed. She continued to ask. How would I know? Yang Ming said subconsciously, but after this sentence, Yang Ming's heart suddenly moved. Since Lan Ling asked this, she must have her reasons. Otherwise, why would she ask where I am? Could it be? Yang Ming suddenly thought of a possibility that made him very excited. Suyat could appear in Songjiang City, it was naturally Chen Mingyan's credit. Since Chen Mingyan could let Suyat come to Songjiang City before he left, why couldn't he let Lan Ling come to Songjiang City before he left? Could it be that Lan Ling really came? Yang Ming was moved and excited by his own guess. Are you in Songjiang City? Wrong. Lan Ling mercilessly denied Yang Ming's guess. Oh, are you in Yunnan? Yang Ming heard Lan Ling's reply and was a little disappointed, but he didn't show it. He continued to ask with a smile. Wrong again. Lan Ling smiled and denied Yang Ming's guess again. Then where are you? Yang Ming was stunned. Lan Ling wasn't in Songjiang City, nor was she in Yunnan. Where would she be? You guess again. Lan Ling asked again. Then I don't know. Yang Ming shook his head. He really couldn't guess where Lan Ling was. Big idiot. As soon as Lan Ling's voice fell, Yang Ming felt that someone was quickly approaching him from behind. Yang Ming's instinct as an assassin made him subconsciously alert. He looked behind him with his special ability, but when he saw the petite and cute figure, Yang Ming suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. The corner of his mouth showed a happy smile. In the next moment, Yang Ming's eyes were covered by a pair of cold little hands. Guess who I am? A familiar voice sounded behind Yang Ming again. Yang Ming, who was excited, suddenly turned around and hugged Lan Ling in his arms. Ling Ling, I miss you so much. Lan Ling was still the same as when she left last year. She still looked like an underage little loli. The clothes on her body were also very cute. At first glance, one could tell that she was a pretty girl from a humble family. This made Yang Ming feel like it was yesterday. It was as if Lan Ling had never left and she had always been by his side. It was as if Lan Ling only left for a day or two and returned to him. However, the thoughts in his heart told Yang Ming that Lan Ling had been gone for a long time. Chapter 1967. Me too. I missed you so much. As Lan Ling said this, she also rushed into Yang Ming's arms excitedly. Her arms hugged Yang Ming's neck tightly, and she directly kissed Yang Ming's mouth. This made Yang Ming speechless. Oh. Yang Ming's heart was warm. At the airport, in public, he also kissed Lan Ling and responded to her passionately. Actually, kissing in public wasn't necessarily an indecent thing to do. For some people, kissing in public, accompanied by some wretched actions, was a little offensive to public morals. However, for Yang Ming and Lan Ling, at the airport, in such a special occasion, hugging each other, just passionately kissing, was full of a different kind of romantic atmosphere. The two were like other lovers who reunited after a long separation. They used kissing to express their feelings for each other. This kind of phenomenon was not uncommon at the airport. Many lovers who reunited after a long separation had similar actions here. So, when everyone saw Yang Ming and Lan Ling, they felt that it was normal. No one would think that there was anything wrong with the way the two people did it. On the contrary, many people who saw this scene were so moved that they volunteered to clap their hands. Clap, 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 clap. More and more passengers spontaneously joined the ranks of applauding passengers. It's so touching. Many old couples were moved to tears. They must have been separated for a long time, and now they finally meet. Yeah. You see how unmoved they are. It can be seen how strong their feelings are. It didn't change because of the change of time. Another person said so too. I thought that such a romantic scene could only be seen in the streets of France. A foreigner in France saw this scene and sighed. However, these people's words made Yang Ming a little embarrassed. Even if Yang Ming's face was very thick, after listening to these words, he couldn't help but blush. He quickly separated from Lan Ling and Lan Ling. "Oh, that's so touching." Many people exclaimed in surprise. "That's right, I've never seen a couple so deeply in love before." A traveler exclaimed, moved by the scene. There were even a few elderly couples who were touched by Yang Ming and Lan Ling. They hugged and kissed at the airport. In the end, someone took the lead. Many young and bold couples followed their lead and started kissing in the airport. The middle-aged couples were also affected by the atmosphere and started hugging their loved ones and kissing in the spacious airport. Thus, the entire airport lobby turned into a public kiss. The scene was so grand and magnificent that it could be called a spectacle. Some reporters even smelled the commotion and ran over to take photos and interview. At this time, the initiators of this incident, Yang Ming and Lan Ling, had already disappeared from the airport. The two of them looked at the increasing number of couples and fathers kissing each other. They smiled at each other and left the airport hand in hand. "Ha, I didn't expect our influence to be so strong and cause such a big sensation," Yang Ming exclaimed. "Yeah, I didn't expect it either." Lan Ling was also very surprised. "I just missed you from the bottom of my heart, so I couldn't help myself. I didn't expect them to follow my example. Haha, maybe they couldn't help themselves." Yang Ming smiled and said, "Right, how did you find me? How did you run behind me in such a big airport? Don't forget, my sixth sense is very sharp. I can find you in a sea of people." Lan Ling said proudly, "Don't forget, you're my lover. We have telepathy." Hee, so that's how it is. Yang Ming just remembered that Lan Ling had a natural strong sixth sense. Previously, when they were gambling on stones in Yunnan, Lan Ling relied on this unique special ability to get almost every guess right. Her father even asked her to help him gamble. "Right, how's your father?" Yang Ming suddenly thought of Lan Ling's father, that gambling addict. "He's still the same. He drinks every day and scams for a living. The money he earned is spent on drinking and gambling," muddle-headed. Lan Ling shook her head. Although she didn't meet her father directly, she could inquire about her father's situation from the side. Still the same." Yang Ming couldn't help but shake his head. Some people were born with this kind of character, and it couldn't be changed. It was easy to change mountains and rivers, but hard to change one's nature. Originally, Yang Ming considered that the other party was Lan Ling's father. If he could really repent and get rid of his bad habits, and do some work or small business to support himself, then Yang Ming didn't mind giving him a hand before leaving. But now, after listening to Lan Ling's words, he felt that it was better not to help such a person. No matter how much money Yang Ming gave him, he would probably squander it all away. Therefore, Yang Ming also dismissed the idea of helping Lan Ling's father. Holding Lan Ling's hand, it was the same as the first time he held her hand. Yang Ming's feelings for Lan Ling were very deep. Although Lan Ling wasn't Yang Ming's first woman, she was the first woman that Yang Ming experienced in a sober state. This kind of feeling was always memorable and unforgettable. Until now, Yang Ming recalled bits and pieces of the past, and there was a warm and sweet feeling. "Didn't you want to focus on practicing the Lan family's kung fu? Why did you suddenly come back?" Yang Ming was surprised by Lan Ling's sudden return this time. Guess. Lan Ling smiled. "I don't have a sixth sense. How can I guess? Could it be that Chen Mengyan called and asked you to come back?" Yang Ming deliberately paused and asked. "Wrong." Lan Ling smiled. "Ah." Yang Ming was stunned. Lan Ling came back this time. Wasn't it Qin Mengyan who called her back? Then how did she come back? Why would she suddenly appear at Donghai Airport under such a coincidence and call me? She sent me a text message, not a call. Lan Ling smiled and looked at Yang Ming. Her eyes narrowed into a slit. Yang Ming was a little embarrassed. He felt that he was tricked by Lan Ling call, text message. Is there a difference? It seems that in a strict sense, there is a big difference. Yang Ming smiled bitterly and said, "How was the chat with her?" "It was okay. I felt that it was easier to get along with than I thought." Lan Ling nodded. "This was the first official call between us, huh?" Yang Ming shrugged. "In the future, I'm afraid that we will have more opportunities to meet. I don't know. Who can say for sure what will happen in the future?" Lan Ling said this and suddenly felt sad. "I don't know if I can still live in the future." Chapter 1968. Can I live? Yang Ming was stunned and subconsciously said, "What's wrong with you? Ling Ling, why are you saying such sad words?" "AI, nothing." Lan Ling shook her head and didn't continue. "Right, I'm hungry. I want to eat. Is there anything delicious around here?" "Oh. Donghai has a home of 6 tastes. The taste is good. Although the store is not big, it is full every day. Let's go there." Yang Ming suddenly remembered that Sun Jia had brought him to the home of 6 tastes, so he said to Lan Ling, "Okay. Then let's go to the home of 6 tastes." Lan Ling nodded and said. The two went out of the airport together and came to the parking lot. Yang Ming took Lan Ling to his car. "This is your car." Lan Ling suddenly looked at Yang Ming's BMW X5 with some surprise. From the license plate of the car, it could be seen that the owner of this car was unusual. Song B88B88. This kind of license plate was not something that ordinary people could buy. "Oh, it is." Yang Ming nodded. Strictly speaking, this car was not Yang Ming's car. It was Bao Sanli's car, but there was no difference between it and Yang Ming's car. "You're rich." Lan Ling was a little surprised. In less than a year, Yang Ming bought a BMW. "In fact, not long after you left, my career was on track." Yang Ming sighed. Time passed so quickly. So much time had passed. It turned out to be like this. Lan Ling nodded. "Let's go. I'm hungry. Let's go to the restaurant first." Yang Ming started the car and drove in the direction of the home of 6 tastes. Today's home of 6 tastes was still full. There was no space in the nearby parking lot, but Yang Ming casually parked the car on the side of the road. This was the privilege brought by the pass of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. However, while Yang Ming enjoyed this privilege, he was really working for the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. It could be said that this was a kind of fairness. Lan Ling was a little surprised to see the no parking sign beside Yang Ming's car. She asked curiously, "You're so rich that you're not afraid of a ticket?" "Heh, you won't get a ticket." Yang Ming smiled. "My identity is a little special. This is also what I will tell you later." "Oh." Lan Ling nodded and walked into the home of 6 tastes with Yang Ming. "Welcome, may I know if it's the two of you?" When Yang Ming and Lan Ling walked into the home of 6 tastes, a waiter came up to them and asked. Yes. Yang Ming nodded. "Is there a seat?" "There's only one couple seat left, but you'll have to pay an additional 100 yuan per hour for your meal." The waiter said apologetically, "Sir, you can get a number and wait in line here." "Oh, then I'll take the couple's booth." For Yang Ming, 100 renminbi per hour was nothing. "Okay, sir, please come here." The waiter smiled at Yang Ming and made an inviting gesture. However, just as Yang Ming held Lan Ling's hand and wanted to walk over, a discordant voice sounded. I want the couple's booth. As soon as the voice fell, a burly man walked over with a beautiful girl in his arms. He pointed at the waiter and said casually. Sorry, sir, there's only one couple's booth left. This gentleman asked for it first. The waiter pointed at Yang Ming and explained to the burly man. There's only one, and it's just right for me. The burly man sneered and said. Ah. This. The waiter saw that the burly man had a fierce face, and he was a little scared. Hurry up. Look, they haven't said anything yet. You, oh waiter, are still dilly-dallying here. It's really like the eunuch is more anxious than the emperor. The burly man said impatiently. Where's the booth? We can go there ourselves. Yang Ming acted like he didn't hear the burly man's words and said to the waiter. It's there. The waiter quickly pointed to a two-person booth not far away. Yang Ming nodded and didn't look at the burly man. He held Lan Ling's hand and walked to the couple's booth. Both of you stop. The burly man was ignored by Yang Ming, and he was furious. He pointed at Yang Ming and shouted. Yang Ming acted like he didn't hear it and continued to walk forward. Yang Ming, that person is so fierce. Lan Ling said nervously. Hee, yeah, what should we do? Yang Ming smiled and whispered. Then, let's give it to him. Anyway, it doesn't matter if we eat in another place. Lan Ling was afraid that Yang Ming would be at a disadvantage. After all, that person was tall. Lan Ling hadn't seen Yang Ming's kung fu, so she was a little worried. Ha, if he bullies me, you will use voodoo on him and kill him. Yang Ming smiled. That won't work, you can't simply use voodoo to harm people. Lan Ling's principle was very strong. She shook her head and rejected Yang Ming's proposal. If that's the case, then we'll talk about it later. As Yang Ming said, he had already walked to the couple's booth and sat in the booth with Lan Ling. Yang Ming's disregard and his blatant provocation angered the burly man. The burly man suddenly felt that he had lost a lot of face. He was also a very famous person in Donghai City. He also did some shady business. He had money and people in his hands, but it wasn't very presentable. However, he still had a lot of power in Donghai City. Now that he was humiliated by Yang Ming, how could he just let it go? I'm talking to you. Are you deaf? The burly man walked over to Yang Ming and reached out to grab Yang Ming's collar. Yang Ming frowned and casually reached out to block it. He said faintly, I'm in a good mood today. I don't want to argue with you. Don't make trouble. Get out of here. Indeed, Yang Ming was in a good mood today. Lan Ling's return made Yang Ming swept away the sadness and loss when he sent Suyao away. But who would have thought that he would meet a psychopath here who was competing with him for a seat? Ha! The burly man thought that he had heard wrongly. Someone actually dared to talk to me like this. Does he want to die? In any case, he was a well-known figure in Donghai City's underworld. How could he be insulted by a young man who looked like a student? Therefore, the burly man was immediately angry, but he wasn't stupid. He carefully looked at Yang Ming. People who can be arrogant, other than fools, have something to rely on. Could it be that Yang Ming has something to rely on? However, the burly man looked left and right, but he couldn't see anything special about this Yang Ming. He couldn't help but ask, Kid, do you know who I am? I, Chen Dazhou, am also a person of great importance in Donghai City. If you know what's good for you, you will get up now and apologize to me. Then, we will forget about this. Otherwise, do you believe that I won't let you walk out of this door? Chapter 1969. Oh, is that so? Yang Ming pretended to ponder and said, "Can I give you the table without apologizing?" This. Humph. Zhen Dazhou was proud. This brat was finally scared. But it was good that he was scared, so he said, "Humph, look at you. You're just scared of losing face in front of your girlfriend, right? If that's the case, then get out of here. Give me the table. You pretty boy, you're quite lucky to have found such a beautiful girl." With that said, Zhen Dazhou looked at Yang Ming and Lan Ling with envy. If it weren't for his wife standing by the side, Zhen Dazhou really wanted to flirt with Lan Ling. Zhen Dazhou was tall and strong, which was a pain in his heart. So when he saw someone more handsome than him, he felt it was unfair. "Honey, don't be angry. Wait until I give birth to a son for you. We'll name him Jining Jun. He'll definitely be more handsome than this brat and get a lot of beauties." The woman beside Zhen Dazhou said. "Okay. Brat, get out of here. Give us the table and we won't argue with you anymore." Zhen Dazhou was very proud. This way, not only did he humiliate Yang Ming, but he also gained face. As for whether Yang Ming apologized or not, it didn't matter. "Oh, okay. After we finish eating, we'll give you the table," Yang Ming nodded and said. "What?" Zhen Dazhou's expression froze. "Brat, are you fucking kidding me?" "I'm not kidding. I said I'll give you the table," Yang Ming said. "You're fucking looking for death. In Donghai City, there are people who dare to talk to me like this, but it's definitely not you." Zhen Dazhou threw a punch at Yang Ming. However, Yang Ming didn't seem to notice. Zhen Dazhou was overjoyed. This brat was still half a beat slower. Slow to react. He didn't even know how to dodge. He was very refreshed in his heart. This punch of his was probably going to hit Yang Ming's head directly. Zhen Dazhou could even imagine his fist smashing into Yang Ming's face and the miserable look on Yang Ming's face. However, in the next moment, Zhen Dazhou felt a sharp pain in his fist. He screamed, my hand, it hurts so much." Yang Ming, who was about to get hit, picked up a fork from the table unblocked in front of him. As a result, Zhen Dazhou's fist hit the fork and he was in so much pain that he wanted to die. "Ling Ling, do you see how many idiots there are? Does he think that he has cultivated the golden bell canopy?" Yang Ming looked at Zhen Dazhou as if he was looking at an idiot and said regretfully to Lan Ling. How could Lan Ling not see that Yang Ming was toying with Zhen Dazhou? Most likely, Yang Ming's strength had long surpassed Zhen Dazhou by far too much. Casually using a seemingly inconspicuous fork, he was able to turn Zhen Dazhou into such a miserable state. Yeah, he must be doing an experiment to see which is more powerful, fist or fork. Lan Ling nodded and smiled. Oh. Jining Jun was about to explode in anger. He couldn't care less about the pain in his hand as he stood up and pounced at Yang Ming. He wanted to fight to the death with Yang Ming. "Little bastard, you dare to trick me? I'm going to kill you." Zhen Dazhou didn't realize that the Yang Ming in front of him had strength. He thought that Yang Ming had calculated to use the fork to block his fist by accident. However, he never thought about it. If Yang Ming didn't have an excellent reaction ability, how could he block his fist with the fork at the moment when his fist was about to hit? If there was even the slightest mistake, the current situation wouldn't have happened. Moreover, how strong was Zhen Dazhou's punch? If Yang Ming didn't have enough strength, he wouldn't be able to hold the fork firmly and the consequences would be severe. Zhen Dazhou's punch would land on Yang Ming's face and the handle of the fork would stab into Yang Ming's face. Even if he didn't blind Yang Ming's eyes, he would make a big hole in Yang Ming's face. Therefore, if he didn't have a certain amount of confidence, who would dare to do that? However, Zhendazhou didn't have time to think about that. His only thought now was to beat up Yang Ming until he didn't look like a human anymore to vent his anger. Just as Zhendazhou pounced over, another pair of chopsticks appeared in Yang Ming's hand out of nowhere. In the end, tragedy happened again. Zhendazhou had a pair of chopsticks stuck in his shoulder like a mutant in a cartoon. Zhendazhou felt as if his shoulder blade had been pierced through. It was so painful that he almost cried. He didn't dare to move his hands. He didn't know where Yang Ming stuck the chopsticks, but it seemed like Zhendazhou's arms couldn't move. Once he moved, the tendons in his arms seemed to be dislocated. Ling Ling, look at this person. He used his hand to test which was harder than the fork, but he didn't give up. He used his body to test which was harder than the chopsticks. Yang Ming looked at Zhendazhou and said, "Don't you think he's a big idiot?" Kind of. Lan Ling nodded. He's really a little stupid. Normal people wouldn't be this stupid. Zhendazhou heard Yang Ming and Lan Ling's words. His lungs were about to explode. No one dared to treat him like this before. However, he couldn't do anything now because no matter how stupid he was, he understood that Yang Ming's fork wasn't a coincidence. He came prepared. Otherwise, how could the chopsticks be explained? This wasn't something a normal person could do. If Yang Ming didn't have some kung fu, he wouldn't be able to do this. Thinking about this, Zhendazhou was terrified. No wonder this kid was so fearless. He was a kung fu master. Zhendazhou regretted going head-to-head with him. With his strength, he could just find a few underlings to beat Yang Ming until his mother couldn't recognize him. However, he had to go head-to-head with him. What a mistake. Thinking about this, Zhendazhou didn't stay any longer. He stared at Yang Ming and said, "Kid, it's a small world. Where are you from?" "Oh. You're asking me where I'm from, right?" Yang Ming looked at Zhendazhou, smiled and asked. "Nonsense, where are you from?" Zhendazhou was eager to know Yang Ming's background. Otherwise, he wouldn't have said so much. "Oh, I used to be from the underworld, but not anymore." Yang Ming shook his head. "Oh. Then where are you from?" Zhendazhou frowned. He thought, could this kid have some connections? He wanted to kill Yang Ming as soon as possible. He was ready to leave the House of Six Tastes and find his underlings to kill Yang Ming. Chapter 1970. Therefore, before he called him, he had to figure out Yang Ming's background. "I'm out of town." "You wouldn't know even if I told you," said Yang Ming. "Out of town." Zhendazhou was overjoyed. "A foreigner, that's even easier. You're a former gangster from out of town. Why don't you restrain yourself when you're in Donghai City? Even if I kill you, no one will stand up for you. I'll take you to the beach and put you on a pirate ship. I'll say that you were killed by pirates. Your death will be in vain. No one will link it to Zhendazhou." One had to know that Zhendazhou was in the pirate business. He had a pirate organization under him called the Flintlock Squad. They specialized in robbing ships on the high seas. Moreover, they specifically targeted smuggler ships and did a double-cross business. In this way, the smuggling ship was in the wrong, and they did not dare to report it to the police. Therefore, Zhendazhou had been doing very well in the past few years. In Donghai City, he was a very powerful existence. At this time, he was bullied by Yang Ming. How could he bear it? In his opinion, he could just send a few men and he could kill Yang Ming with one shot. Good. You can wait here if you have the guts. Do you dare? Zhendazhou was determined. He had figured out Yang Ming's background. He was ready to make a move on Yang Ming. Coincidentally, He could play with the little lolly next to him behind his wife's back. Just thinking about it made him happy. Wait for you. I'm here to pick someone up at the airport today. I'm going back in a while. If you make me wait for too long, I'm afraid I can't wait. Yang Ming explained calmly. Ha! Zhen Dazhou was stunned. Is this kid stupid? He actually explained it to me so clearly. When Zhen Dazhou heard that Yang Ming was only here to pick someone up at the airport, he had no more scruples in his heart. For this kind of passerby, no one would doubt if Zhen Dazhou killed him. Okay, then you wait here. Zhen Dazhou didn't stay any longer. He left the home of Six Tastes with his wife to find someone. In the house of Six Tastes, there would often be conflicts between customers fighting for seats, so as long as it wasn't too big of a commotion, the waiters would turn a blind eye to it. Just like Zhen Dazhou and Yang Ming's situation today, one side quickly left, so the waiters didn't care at all. Only when the conflict reached a certain level would they call the police. Soon, a waiter came over and ordered for Yang Ming and Lan Ling. Lan Ling didn't know what was good here, so she handed the task of ordering to Yang Ming. Yang Ming had only been here a few times, but based on his memory, he ordered some of the specialties here. In fact, there were only a few dishes here. There was nothing else. Because the dishes here were all prepared beforehand. When the waiter went to place the order, Yang Ming and Lan Ling looked at each other and smiled. Yang Ming, do you think that Zhen Dazhou will come and find trouble with you later? Although Lan Ling knew that Yang Ming was very powerful, she was afraid that Zhen Dazhou would call for a lot of helpers. At that time, would Yang Ming be able to handle it? Hee, it's okay. Let him be. Yang Ming smiled and said, originally, I was in a good mood because you came back today. But if he wants to trouble me, then I don't mind increasing the income of the local hospital. Ha! Lan Ling listened to Yang Ming's words and suddenly laughed. It's good that you are confident. If I wasn't confident, I would have taken you and run away. Why would I stay here to eat? Yang Ming smiled and said, if I didn't run away, wouldn't I be as stupid as Zhen Dazhou? Yeah. Lan Ling nodded, that Zhen Dazhou is really stupid. He even wants to give birth to a son named Zhening Jun. This name is really strange. Who knows? Yang Ming shook his head. With his looks, even if he gives birth to a son, it won't be good looking. Yeah, I think his son will have a crooked mouth and a cramp in his legs. Lan Ling nodded and said, my sixth sense is very accurate. I gave him a prediction, haha. Yang Ming listened to Lan Ling and couldn't help but laugh. If that was the case, this Zhen Dazhou was really unlucky. Lan Ling even cursed his child. I hope his son will have good luck in the future and not be named Zhening Jun. Otherwise, Lan Ling's prediction might be right and the child will have a crooked mouth and a cramp in his legs. Oh yeah, you said that I will give birth to a son for you. What's his name? Lan Ling suddenly asked. Ugh, what do you think? Yang Ming suddenly coughed twice. This topic seemed to be a bit long-term. Why don't we call him Yangling? Lan Ling suggested. Ha! Yang Ming suddenly froze and was shocked. Isn't Yangling the main character of a time travel novel? Could it be that his son will travel in the future? Damn, isn't that too badass? What's wrong? Lan Ling saw that Yang Ming was stunned and asked puzzledly. Nothing, I just feel that this name is a bit feminine. Yang Ming shook his head and smiled bitterly. Who can predict what will happen in the future? Yang Ming was just thinking about it casually. The future can only be discussed in the future. Oh, then I will go to the washroom to wash my hands. You stay here and help me look after my bag and phone. Lan Ling said as she put her bag and phone on the table in front of her and got up to go to the washroom. Okay. Yang Ming nodded and said to Lan Ling, the washroom is over there, just turn right, and I know. My sixth sense is very accurate. I can find it even if you don't tell me. Lan Ling said with a smile. Yang Ming sat in his seat and waited for Lan Ling. However, not long after Lan Ling left, Lan Ling's phone on the table rang. In fact, Yang Ming didn't have the habit of peeping at Lan Ling's privacy. However, because Lan Ling went to the washroom and the phone was on the table in front of him, Yang Ming thought that it was Chen Mengyan who sent a text message to Lan Ling. He had the idea of peeping. After all, Lan Ling was found by Chen Mengyan. At this moment, she sent a text message to Lan Ling to ask if Lan Ling saw him. It was normal. Because she couldn't send a text message to Yang Ming to ask for confirmation. After all, she wanted to give Yang Ming a surprise behind Yang Ming's back. Therefore, Yang Ming wanted to tease Chen Mengyan. Therefore, Yang Ming casually picked up Lan Ling's phone. He didn't look carefully at who sent the text message. He pressed the read button without thinking. However, when Yang Ming saw the text message on the phone screen, his face suddenly became pale. He looked at the text message on the phone with some disbelief. Ling Ling, I went to the hospital for a checkup. HIV positive. You should also go for a checkup. I am afraid of infecting you. Chapter 1971. Seeing the content of the text message on Lan Ling's mobile phone, Yang Ming's face suddenly became ugly. However, Yang Ming was no longer a fledgling student. At this moment, he wouldn't do anything irrational just because of a text message. Yang Ming first took a deep breath and glanced at the sender of this text message. It was a person named Brother Rong. Yang Ming frowned. He had never heard that Lan Ling knew such a person. Suddenly, Yang Ming remembered the scene he saw at Yanjing Airport. Lan Ling was walking with a man who looked very fancy. Yang Ming's heart suddenly tightened. At that time, although Yang Ming had some doubts, he didn't think much about it. After all, everyone had their own friends and things. Among them, there were also some friends of the opposite sex. Yang Ming naturally wouldn't suspect that Lan Ling would do something behind his back. However, this text message made Yang Ming's heart sweat a little. After all, time could change everything. No matter how good a relationship was, it would be diluted by some time and space. Moreover, if Lan Ling was alone and couldn't bear the loneliness, it wasn't unrealistic for her to do something indecent. This made Yang Ming think of the peace of mind in the TV series, Jade Guanyin, which made Yang Ming more and more irritated. He believed that Lan Ling shouldn't be such a person in his heart, but this text message was really difficult to calm down. Although Yang Ming believed that Lan Ling still loved him, Yang Ming could feel it from the moment they met at the airport. Yang Ming was also a person with keen perception. This was the instinct of an assassin. If Lan Ling had a trace of disguise and a perfunctory look, Yang Ming was afraid that he would discover it at the first moment. However, Yang Ming didn't. Yang Ming read the deep attachment and love from Lan Ling's eyes and kiss, as well as the joy of reuniting after a long time. However, the world was unpredictable. Yang Ming was afraid that Lan Ling would do something stupid under some unknown circumstances. This wasn't something she could control with her willpower. HIV was AIDS, known as the incurable disease of the century. The main ways of transmission were through blood and sex. However, judging from the tone of the text message, it seemed more like sexual transmission. Would Lan Ling really cheat on him? Yang Ming didn't know. At the very least, he had cheated. Thinking of this, Yang Ming could not help but bitterly smile and shake his head. If he was already like this, how could he ask others? Furthermore, he had cheated on more than one person. If that was the case, was this all revenge? However, thinking of this, Yang Ming's mood improved a lot. As the saying goes, Don't impose on others what you don't want done to you. If he couldn't do it himself, how could he ask others to do it? Wasn't that a little too overbearing? Was the man he saw at Beijing airport the brother Rong in Lan Ling's phone? It seemed that this form of address was quite intimate. Although Yang Ming didn't want to think about it, he couldn't help but think about it. That pretty boy was not bad looking. He was different from Yang Ming. One was tall and handsome, and the other was delicate and beautiful. Yang Ming bitterly smiled. Why would Lan Ling choose such a boy to cheat on? If she had to choose, she would have chosen someone similar to her. At least her heart would be comforted, right? This kind of person was a little feminine at first glance. It was not good. Yang Ming silently closed the text message and entered Lan Ling's inbox again. He suddenly realized that this brother Rong had sent more than one message. There were at least 40 to 50 messages. Yang Ming didn't count in detail. Anyway, in the inbox, besides the occasional message from himself and Chen Mengyan, most of the messages were sent by this person called Brother Rong. How are you today? Come to my place at night. I will come to you at night, can your body take it? How about tomorrow? How is your body? We had done it a few times yesterday. Do you want to continue today? You are so good. I can't take it anymore, I'm sorry, Ling Ling. I didn't mean it. Are you still bleeding? Let's not do it tonight. I'm exhausted. I'm still sleepy now. Why aren't you sleepy? Why are you so energetic? Don't forget to take your medicine. I'm really sorry about yesterday. Yang Ming just casually looked at a few messages, and there was a feeling of attentiveness. It made Yang Ming's head buzz. Isn't this text message a bit too shocking? If it was only one or two, then Yang Ming might think that it was a mistake, or there was some other reason, or Lan Ling had no choice but to do it. However, with so many messages, could it be a mistake? Yang Ming didn't dare to look at it. The more he looked, the sadder he felt, although Yang Ming felt that Lan Ling wouldn't do anything to let him down. Sometimes, being too confident was blind. During this time, Yang Ming had been living smoothly. There weren't many bumps until he went to Yunnan. Originally, Yang Ming thought that his good luck could be carried to Yunnan, but he didn't expect that it would stop abruptly before he went to Yunnan. Yang Ming's mind was blank at this moment. He didn't know how to ask Lan Ling when she came back. How to face her. Do I still love Lan Ling? Yang Ming nodded. The answer was yes. However, after these things, would I still love Lan Ling? Yang Ming didn't know. Who could say, for tomorrow's matter clearly? Yang Ming didn't know. He really didn't know. This made him think of a song. Tomorrow, will you still love me? The passage of time, the cutting knife of time, this was something that couldn't be changed by human strength. How many years would it become a pale, empty sentence and disappear with the wind? Ling Ling, how should I face you in the future? If all this is true, why did you come back? This was also the only thing that Yang Ming couldn't figure out. Since Lan Ling had an affair with someone else, why did she come back? Why was she so passionate about him? Could it be that Lan Ling only had an affair physically, but not emotionally? But, was there a difference between the body and the mind? Suddenly, Yang Ming thought of Lan Ling's words. I don't know. Who can say for sure what will happen in the future? I don't know if I can still live in the future. Did Lan Ling already know that she might be infected with the AIDS virus? Was that why he had such a feeling? Chapter 1972. Yang Ming held Lan Ling's phone and felt a myriad of emotions. His thoughts couldn't help but return to the summer vacation more than half a year ago. That carefree moment. At that time, the burden on his shoulders wasn't so heavy. Although he didn't have the current achievements, he didn't have as many troubles as he did now. Thinking about his immaturity and irrationality, Yang Ming couldn't help but shake his head. After breaking up with his girlfriend, he actually agreed to Zhang Bin's suggestion to find a prostitute to play. Fortunately, he met Lan Ling, a young girl who was sold by her father. Yang Ming was very grateful to God for giving him such a cute little girl. Yang Ming's only experience of finding a prostitute in his life was to pick up a treasure. How blissful and beautiful was the time back then. In just a few days, he and Lan Ling were glued to each other and fell deeply in love with each other. They all felt that this was fate. God's arrangement for Yang Ming to meet Lan Ling and for Lan Ling to meet Yang Ming. The pain and troubles of breaking up with his girlfriend were all thrown to the back of Yang Ming's mind at this moment. At this time, he only had Lan Ling in his mind. Lan Ling also treated Yang Ming as her one and only. The days in Yunnan Tingchong were one of the happiest times of Yang Ming's life. Every time he thought about it, Yang Ming would reveal a happy smile. He believed that Lan Ling should be the same. She should treat this time as the best of her life. How good would it be if life was like the first time we met? Yang Ming wished so much that he could go back to the past, the days when he first met Lan Ling. However, time couldn't be reversed. Yang Ming couldn't go back. Yang Ming couldn't go against time and time. Man could win against God, but it also depended on the situation. If it was something absolutely impossible, then it couldn't be won. Thinking about Lan Ling's frown and smile, Yang Ming's heart was bleeding. Lan Ling, is she still the Lan Ling from the past? Is she still the innocent Lan Ling? Is she still the Lan Ling who only thought about me? Is Lan Ling still there? Yang Ming closed his eyes with some pain. That Lan Ling seems to still be there. At least, if I didn't see this message, she was still there. This was because when Lan Ling came back and called him and talked to him, Yang Ming didn't find anything wrong with her at all. Everything was so real, especially the passionate kiss that Lan Ling couldn't wait. It made Yang Ming feel that Lan Ling loved him deeply. However, if Lan Ling didn't love him anymore and said that she wanted to break up with him, then Yang Ming's mood might be better. After all, if Lan Ling insisted on breaking up with him, Yang Ming wouldn't stop her. Everyone had the right to find their own happiness. Just like before Yang Ming left, he advised Xiao Ying, Jing Xiaolu, Zhou Jiejie, and others to pursue happiness, but they insisted not to. If Lan Ling wanted to pursue her happiness, then Yang Ming would agree. But now, Lan Ling should still love me deeply. She cheated on me with her body, but not her heart. Perhaps, there was some hidden reason behind this, and she was forced to do so. Or something else. In this case, Yang Ming really didn't know how to face Lan Ling. In Yang Ming's hand, he kept fiddling with Lan Ling's mobile phone, but it was all meaningless operations. Lan Ling had obviously changed to a new mobile phone. The old Nokia model was no longer in use. Of course, Yang Ming couldn't ask Lan Ling to always use the old mobile phone that he gave her. Didn't he change his mobile phone too? This was a small matter. What made Yang Ming most worried was Lan Ling. What happened to her? Just when Yang Ming didn't know how to face it, Lan Ling came back from the bathroom. Are the dishes not served yet? It's so slow. I'm starving. Lan Ling didn't notice anything wrong with Yang Ming. After all, before Lan Ling left, Yang Ming was still happy. In such a short time, Lan Ling didn't think that Yang Ming would have any special mood fluctuations. After she finished, she smiled at Yang Ming and sat back in her seat. She picked up a napkin and wiped her hands. However, when she saw Yang Ming fiddling with her mobile phone, Lan Ling was slightly stunned. What are you playing with? Don't you want to wash your hands? Nothing. I'm just looking at it. Yang Ming smiled reluctantly. His smile was very ugly. He didn't know how to tell Lan Ling the truth. In Yang Ming's heart, he still cared about Lan Ling. Lan Ling could be considered as his first real woman. How could Yang Ming's feelings for her be just a little bit? In less than a year, Yang Ming missed Lan Ling day and night. Now that Lan Ling was back, Yang Ming's mood was very good and very happy. But now, after reading the text message, Yang Ming's mood was unprecedentedly heavy. This was more uncomfortable than any physical pain he had suffered before. She was the person he loved deeply. If he had to give up, Yang Ming really couldn't do it. He really couldn't. However, in this situation, how could Yang Ming continue to face Lan Ling? He really didn't know. He really didn't know. I'm not washing. Yang Ming shook his head. It's unhygienic not to wash your hands. Lan Ling looked at Yang Ming with some doubts. You used to be very hygienic, is that so? Hee, maybe. Yang Ming gave a hollow laugh. Right, look at my mobile phone. There is a mobile phone reading app. There is a book called The School Bell's Personal Expert. It is very good. I have been reading it when I was bored recently. Lan Ling still didn't notice Yang Ming's abnormality. She still said happily, the male lead is similar to you. He is also very good, but he is very fickle. He has so many girlfriends. Oh. Yang Ming responded with a lack of interest. He used to be most interested in this kind of novel, but at this moment, he didn't even have the mood. He had something in his heart. How could he read a novel? How big of a heart did he have? Hey! What happened to you? Lan Ling finally noticed Yang Ming's abnormality this time. Yang Ming seemed to be in a bad mood. Even if Lan Ling's sixth sense was very strong, she didn't deliberately think about Yang Ming's emotions. So, until now, she realized that Yang Ming seemed to be very unhappy. Who? Yang Ming sighed and opened the previous text message. Then, he pushed the phone in front of Lan Ling. This text message, after Lan Ling took the phone from Yang Ming's hand with some doubts, she was stunned at first. Then, her face showed a very apologetic expression. I'm sorry, Yang Ming. Chapter 1973. Listening to Lan Ling say sorry, Yang Ming's heart suddenly felt like it was being cut by a knife. Yang Ming smiled sadly and looked at Lan Ling in disbelief. Then don't worry. I won't be infected. I have taken precautions. Lan Ling smiled and said to Yang Ming. Precautions. Yang Ming's mouth twitched twice. How could the innocent Lan Ling say such words? At this moment, Yang Ming looked at Lan Ling in disbelief. Is she still the Ling Ling in my memory? Why did she suddenly become a stranger? Yeah, actually, even if you don't take precautions, you will be fine. Lan Ling smiled and said, do you remember that I once told you that once the voodoo in our body takes effect and is activated, we will reach a state where we are immune to all kinds of poisons? Although the HIV virus is very powerful, it is actually nothing compared to the mysterious voodoo. Many voodoo's nourishment is the virus. The more powerful the voodoo, the stronger its ability to devour the virus. Even if I had this kind of HIV virus in my body, it would have been devoured long ago. Didn't you realize that your body is very good now? You almost don't get sick. Yang Ming frowned and carefully recalled his body. It seemed that ever since he met Lan Ling, he really didn't get sick. However, if he didn't get sick, what was the use? Yang Ming's mind now wasn't about whether he was sick or not. Even if he was immortal, what could he do? Yang Ming was in so much pain that he wanted to die after losing his true love. Lan Ling, I'm really sorry, Yang Ming. I made you worry about me. But I won't get sick. Lan Ling thought that the reason why Yang Ming was unhappy was because he was afraid that she would be infected with AIDS, so she said, "But we are infected with voodoo. Your worry is really unnecessary." Yang Ming was a little speechless. What he was worried about now was not only whether she was infected with AIDS. What he really cared about was her relationship with Brother Rong. As for the issue of AIDS, it was secondary. Heart voodoo. Right, heart voodoo. Didn't heart voodoo require both the man and woman to be loyal to each other? Otherwise, the voodoo would act up and cause his body to explode. If that was the case, why did Lan Ling still? However, Yang Ming suddenly thought of his own situation. Didn't I also have a relationship with another girl? But so what? That didn't mean that he didn't love Lan Ling anymore. Lan Ling's position in his heart had never changed. Therefore, Yang Ming was really heartbroken. Could it be that Lan Ling is the same as me? She likes me at the same time, but she likes someone else. Or, she just wants to vent her physiological needs, so she had sex with Brother Rong. That's right. Voodoo, but what's the use of it? You're still. Yang Ming smiled bitterly and didn't continue. After hearing Yang Ming's words, Lan Ling looked at Yang Ming with some doubt. Yang Ming, what's wrong with you? Why do you sound so weird when you speak? How can the heart voodoo be useless? At least it can make you love me all the time. That's right. I've always loved you. Yang Ming shook his head and sighed. But you. Do you still love me? I'm really not sure if you love me or not. Of course, I love you. Lan Ling looked at Yang Ming strangely. Why did you suddenly ask so many strange questions? What's going on? Do you still love me? Yang Ming couldn't believe Lan Ling's words. He looked at Lan Ling and said in a daze. Of course, you know our Lan Miao's tradition. Our women only have one man in their life. Once they've decided, they won't change. Lan Ling smiled bitterly and said, when my mother put the voodoo in me, she also told me this, only one man. Yang Ming was slightly stunned after hearing Lan Ling's words. He quickly asked, but the text message on your phone, text message on my phone. Lan Ling was stunned. She glanced at the text message on the phone in her hand, and then looked at Yang Ming's expression. Suddenly, she seemed to understand something. Suddenly, Lan Ling looked at Yang Ming angrily. Yang Ming, you didn't think that I was infected because I had a relationship with someone else, right? Is it not? Yang Ming saw Lan Ling's expression at the moment and was a little uncertain. Could it be that those text messages were not real? What is it? I'm so angry. Lan Ling stared at Yang Ming angrily. Well, you suspect me. I didn't suspect you, but you suspect me first. It's so sad. This. Yang Ming knew that although Lan Ling might be really angry at this moment, she wasn't really angry. She was just pretending. He smiled bitterly, but the short message on the phone, if it was anyone else, they would misunderstand. What's there to misunderstand? Blood can also transmit AIDS. Why are your thoughts so complicated? Lan Ling still looked at Yang Ming angrily. You are under the voodoo. As long as you love me in your heart, you will be fine. As long as your heart for me doesn't change, you won't be affected even if you like other girls. But, if I had feelings for someone else or had something with someone else, you wouldn't be able to see me now. The voodoo in my body is actually more like a kind of chastity voodoo. There are some differences between it and yours. Ugh. Yang Ming listened to Lan Ling's explanation and suddenly felt a sense of relief. However, correspondingly, Yang Ming also felt a sense of guilt. He actually doubted Lan Ling for no reason, but Lan Ling didn't doubt him. He thought of her as a bad girl who was unfaithful for the sake of lust. Love requires mutual trust. For a moment, Yang Ming was really ashamed. It turned out that Lan Ling didn't have any relationship with others at all. Her voodoo, which was the chastity voodoo that she mentioned, didn't allow her to do so. The reason why Lan Ling apologized to him before was that Lan Ling mistakenly thought that he was worried about her after seeing the text message. What he thought was actually different from Lan Ling's. He suspected that she had an affair. Thinking about it, Yang Ming felt very ashamed. But those text messages. After Yang Ming knew that Lan Ling was innocent, he felt a little strange about those text messages. It was no wonder that Yang Ming was suspicious. Those text messages were really ambiguous. Could it be that the text message didn't mean that? And that brother Rome, who is he? Chapter 1974. You peeked at my message. Lan Ling glared at Yang Ming and asked angrily. Ugh. I just looked at the text message that was just sent, and I couldn't help but look at the others. Yang Ming explained with some shame. Sigh, it's so tiring to pretend to be angry. Lan Ling rubbed her eyes. My eyeballs are about to fall out. It's so sore. Forget it. I won't be angry with you. Hee hee. Yang Ming knew that Lan Ling wouldn't really be angry. This little loli had almost never been angry with him. From the time they met until now, she had always been very obedient. You mean Brother Rome's message? Which one is it? What kind of association did it cause? Let me explain it to you one by one. Lan Ling smiled. Ugh, this Brother Rome, who is he? Asked Yang Ming. Brother Rome is naturally my cousin. He is also a member of the Lan Miao tribe. He lives in Lan Miao village, said Lan Ling. Is he the feminine man beside you at Beijing airport? Asked Yang Ming. Yeah, Yang Ming, are you spying on me? Lan Ling was stunned and was surprised. I came back from abroad and passed by Beijing airport. When I was getting off the plane, I saw both of you getting on the plane. It seemed like you were very close. Yang Ming smiled bitterly and said, when was I spying on you? Ah, not on purpose. I thought you were worried about me. I'm so disappointed. Lan Ling was a little discouraged. Ha! Yang Ming heard Lan Ling's words and opened his eyes wide. You still want me to spy on you? Of course. If you spy on me, it means that you are worried about me. Lan Ling nodded. Actually, I wasn't angry at all. I was quite happy. I was very excited that you cared so much about me. However, you suspected me so badly. Although I wasn't very angry, I still had to express my dissatisfaction. Hee hee. Yang Ming heard Lan Ling's words and suddenly let out a sigh of relief. He is my cousin. We haven't seen each other for a long time. Of course, we are very close. Lan Ling smiled and said, what you saw was Brother Rong. Oh. Yang Ming picked up Lan Ling's phone and opened the messages that he saw before. He pointed at one of them. How are you today? Coming to my place at night. And I will come to you at night. The two messages asked, both of you will go to each other at night. Refining. In order to deal with Elder Yu's evil technique, we must come up with countermeasures as soon as possible. Thus, Brother Rong and I decided to refine a long-lost goo of our Lan Miao tribe, the Herculean goo. Herculean vermin. What? Yang Ming heard the name and felt a little weird. However, since it was a voodoo, it was normal to be weird. Yang Ming was puzzled and asked, but why do we have to refine it at night? This kind of goo can't be exposed to the sun. If it is exposed to the sun, it will die easily. Lan Ling said, Elder Yu's is evil. Once he succeeds, he can have Jean Gang's unbreakable body. It will not be easy to deal with him. This Herculean goo, as the name suggests, allows the person to have the same strength as Herculean. Only then can they deal with Elder You. I see. Yang Ming nodded as if he understood. He didn't know much about goo refinement, but he understood why they had to look for each other at night. What about this message? Yang Ming pointed to another message on the phone and asked. That message was, can your body take it? How about tomorrow? About that, you need to experiment when refining goo. You need to put the refined goo worm into your own body to experiment. Lon Ling explained, although it is a bit reckless, there is no time. We have to use our own bodies to test. Sometimes, when the goo enters the body, it will mutate or die. We have to test it again and again. Ugh, what about this message? Is it the same? Yang Ming pointed. How is your body? Yesterday, you did it several times. Do you still want to continue today? This message asked. Yeah, I kept putting the goo into my body to test, but I didn't succeed. Naturally, I have to continue the next day. Lon Ling nodded. Ugh, what about this? Yang Ming pointed. You are amazing. I can't take it anymore. Asked. However, at this moment, Yang Ming had no doubts in his heart. He completely believed Lon Ling's explanation. This is also true. I have the heart goo in my body. It can be said that I am immune to all poisons. Even if I am bitten by the goo, it won't cause too much damage. But Brother Rong is different. After he tried, he suffered. Lon Ling covered her mouth and laughed. Ugh, he is unlucky enough. Yang Ming shrugged and said, what about this message? Why is it bleeding? Yang Ming was referring to the message, I'm sorry, Ling Ling. I didn't mean it. Are you still bleeding? This message asked. He overturned the culture dish of the goo and smashed it on my foot. It's bleeding. Lon Ling looked at these messages with hidden meanings. She couldn't help but laugh. I didn't think much about it before. But when it is connected, it really makes people misunderstand. But where do you think I am bleeding? Yang Ming laughed dryly. Aren't you asking the obvious? You are the one asking the obvious. I have already been bleeding because of you once. How can I bleed again? You idiot. When Lon Ling spoke, she looked at Yang Ming affectionately. This made Yang Ming's heart move. He was a little restless. Every time, I can't resist Lon Ling's temptation. However, Yang Ming thought that this was a dining table outside. He couldn't think about other things. Otherwise, he would embarrass himself. He laughed dryly. I thought he used too much force. Go to hell. Lon Ling snorted. Well, then this message. Oh, this message doesn't need to be explained. I understand. I won't do it tonight. You don't want to do the experiment, right? Yang Ming smiled bitterly. This Brother Rong is too much. He doesn't know to send more text messages. Would it kill him to send a few more words? If he doesn't do it, who knows what he is going to do? Yang Ming was referring to the message, let's not do it tonight. I'm exhausted. I'm still sleepy. Why aren't you sleepy? Why are you so energetic? This message. Hee hee. Lon Ling covered her mouth and laughed even more. Lon Ling also realized that when these messages were connected, it was no wonder that Yang Ming's association ability was so strong. Text messages. If they are sent too long, is it still a text message? AI. What about this one? Yang Ming pointed to the last message he saw and asked. That message was, don't forget to take your medicine. I'm really sorry for yesterday. Chapter 1975. My foot was smashed. The utensils were too old. Brother Rome was afraid that I would get tetanus. I explained to him that I don't need to take medicine because of my voodoo. He was worried and kept urging me to take medicine. Lon Ling laughed. Wow, did you think that I would take those emergency contraceptive pills? Just like the ones you wanted to give me in the past. Didn't I say that I don't need to take them? You idiot. Ugh. Yang Ming suddenly sweated. He realized that he was wrong, very wrong. How could the cute little Ling Ling betray me? I really deserved to die. I actually misunderstood Lon Ling. Sigh, really. If you like someone, you have to have confidence in her and not just doubt her. While they were talking, the waiter had already placed the dishes on the table. Every dish was cooked to the point of drooling. It looked, smelled, and tasted amazing. Okay, let's eat first. I'm hungry. Lon Ling deliberately didn't mention this matter. She was also afraid that Yang Ming would feel awkward. She put her phone aside, picked up the chopsticks first, and tasted the dishes in front of her. Okay, let's eat first. We'll talk while we eat. Yang Ming was also a little hungry, so he nodded and picked up the chopsticks to eat. Right, how did your brother Rome get infected with AIDS? Is there a problem with his lifestyle? Yang Ming asked curiously. How is it possible? The voodoo that he practices can't be unchaste. Otherwise, he will die. Lon Ling shook her head. Ugh. Then how did he get it? Yang Ming was stunned. He didn't expect this brother Rome to be so tragic. If he got AIDS from messing around, he would accept his fate. However, he didn't mess around and got AIDS. It was a bit sad. When he was doing an experiment, he was bitten by the voodoo worm and bled non-stop. After I took Grandma's mother devouring voodoo and swallowed the bitten voodoo worm in his body, he had lost too much blood. Lon Ling said, so, he went down the mountain to find a doctor for blood transfusion. In the end, the medical conditions there weren't good enough, so he got infected. Ugh. Yang Ming didn't know what to say. This guy's life was a tragedy. He couldn't help but smile bitterly. Then why is he afraid of infecting you? When placing a goo into a person's body, they would drip their blood on the goo. He was afraid that if they cut each other's hands, the blood would spread. Lon Ling said. If that's the case, then what about him? He's sick. Yang Ming smiled bitterly. It's fine. How can a goo refiner not have a virus in his body? After a while, it will be devoured by the mother venomous insect in his body. It doesn't matter. Lon Ling smiled indifferently. Oh, that's not bad. Yang Ming said enviously, but, if that's the case, why is he afraid of infecting you? You should be fine too, right? Didn't I come to find you? He's afraid that I'll infect you. Lon Ling rolled her eyes at Yang Ming. He doesn't know that you have my voodoo in your body. That's why he's afraid. If he passed it to you when we were doing it, it wouldn't be easy to cure. Yang Ming looked at Lon Ling's charming and delicate style. He even had an impulse to immediately carry her to the hotel. Why are you looking at me? Lon Ling suddenly looked up and was shocked when she saw Yang Ming's burning eyes. Oh, nothing. Let's eat first. However, Yang Ming could control his emotions very well. He smiled and put some food into his mouth. Right, then your voodoo, did you succeed in refining it? No. Lon Ling shook her head. How can it be so easy? That's a lost voodoo. We are also in the experimental stage. Just like the sinister voodoo that Elder Yu refined, he was also constantly experimenting with it. The method of drinking human blood was just a method that he experimented with. In fact, no one knew how to refine the voodoo in his hand. It's just that his practice is a bit evil, so it is called evil. It turns out to be like this. Yang Ming nodded. Then you said before that you want to go to Yunnan to practice with your grandmother. Is it this Herculean voodoo? No, that's a kind of mental cultivation method passed down in our Lan family. Although it's very powerful, I don't have the confidence to beat Elder Yu because Elder Yu has also improved his own martial arts. His evil martial arts should be more powerful than our family's mental cultivation method, so there's no other way. Grandma let me and Brother Rong start the refining plan of the Herculean vermin. Lan Ling sighed and said, originally, I said that after I mastered the family's unique martial arts within a year, I could solve Elder Yu's problem and come back to find you. But now, it seems that it's impossible. So this is the reason why I came back early this time. On the one hand, I also miss you. I miss you very much. I want to see you. On the one hand, after returning to Yunnan this time, it may be incomparably dangerous. After a year, whether or not I can come back, whether or not you can see me again, it's hard to say, so I must see you. This. Yang Ming didn't expect that Lan Ling's side wasn't very good. This is also what I said to you at the airport before. It's hard to say whether I can survive in the future. We, the Lan Miao, don't have the confidence to deal with Elder Yu. He is getting more and more powerful. Lan Ling smiled bitterly. You can rest assured. I will fight side by side with you. This time, we will go to Yunnan. If we can come back, then we will come back together. If we can't come back, I will die with you. Yang Ming nodded, looked at Lan Ling, and said firmly. Ah. After Lan Ling heard Yang Ming's words, she was suddenly shocked. You want to accompany me to Yunnan? How can this be? However, although Lan Ling said this, her eyes showed infinite surprise and gratitude. Yang Ming actually wants to accompany me to Yunnan for me. Lan Ling was very happy, very touched, and very satisfied. However, it was enough that Yang Ming had this intention. Lan Ling would not let Yang Ming accompany her. Although Lan Ling knew that Yang Ming's skill was good, this trip to Yunnan was a real battle of life and death. It was very likely that he would lose his life if he was not careful. Yang Ming was just an ordinary person. How could he be Elder Yu's opponent? Why not? I will kill Elder Yu with you. Yang Ming nodded and smiled. No, you can't go. Lan Ling shook her head and directly rejected Yang Ming. Yang Ming was stunned. He didn't know why Lan Ling suddenly rejected him. Logically, Lan Ling should be very happy. Why did she reject him? Why? Yang Ming asked with some doubts. You are different from me. Yang Ming, my dear lover, you can't die. Lan Ling looked at Yang Ming affectionately and said, You are my only boyfriend. But you have so many girlfriends besides me. This time, Chen Mengyan has told me everything about you. Although I am a little jealous, at the same time, I feel happy and gratified. Yang Ming nodded and said, You are my only boyfriend. Chapter 1976. This. Yang Ming was even more confused about Lan Ling's words. Yang Ming didn't expect Lan Ling to know about his relationship with other girls. When she left, he only had an ambiguous relationship with Chen Mengyan. But now, in less than a year, he had met so many girls. Yet, Lan Ling felt happy and gratified for him. Yang Ming's heart was sour. Is little Ling Ling saying something sarcastically to anger me? If you die, I will be so sad that I don't want to live. Because I only have you as my lover. However, if I die, you still have so many girlfriends to accompany you. You shouldn't be so sad. At least, you won't be so sad because you still have so many people who love you to accompany you. Lan Ling said, so, Yang Ming, if you go to Yunnan to accompany me for me, although I will be very happy, it is really selfish. It is unfair to Chen Mengyan and all the girls who love you. How can I do that? Yang Ming was stunned. He didn't expect Lan Ling to be worried about this. While he was touched, he also felt deep self-reproach. For Lan Ling, he really let her down. Ling Ling, did Chen Mengyan ask you to come back this time? Did she say anything else to you? What did she say to you? Yang Ming suddenly thought of a very important thing. Lan Ling didn't let him go to Yunnan. Didn't she know that he was going to Yunnan to perform a mission? She told me that you missed me a lot and wanted to see me. I missed you a lot too, so I came back. Lan Ling said. Oh. Just like that. Yang Ming was stunned. Then you didn't miss me before. Why didn't you come back? I wanted to come back before, but I was afraid that it would affect your relationship with Chen Mengyan. I didn't dare to come back. Lan Ling said, how would I know that Chen Mengyan's attitude was so good to me? She even respected me. When I heard that you had so many women, I understood that Chen Mengyan was helpless. Not really. Chen Mengyan has grown up and matured. Yang Ming smiled embarrassedly. Maybe, but in this way, I can get rid of my worries. I can face her calmly in the future. Lan Ling said with relief, otherwise, after I dealt with Elder Yu, could I return to Songjiang City and see you? Would I be driven away by Chen Mengyan? Would you be in a dilemma? Thinking of this, I have the idea of perishing together with Elder Yu. What? Yang Ming was shocked and felt lucky. If Chen Mengyan didn't take the initiative to call Lan Ling, then Lan Ling's idea would be really scary. If she really acted, then Yang Ming would really regret it for life. It was really thrilling. He couldn't help but be scared. Ling Ling, how can you think about it? Even if there are difficulties, I won't abandon you. Yeah, I know. Because you are voodoo, if you abandon me, you will die. Lan Ling deliberately teased. You really ask when you know the answer. Yang Ming smiled bitterly. Well, I just came back to see you. Chen Mengyan's attitude also gave me more confidence. I will definitely defeat Elder Yu and then come back to find you safely. You don't have to accompany me. Don't be impulsive. Lan Ling comforted him. Ling Ling, how am I impulsive? Yang Ming shrugged and said, in fact, I have to go to Yunnan. Have to go? What do you mean? Is there someone forcing you to go? Lan Ling was stunned and asked curiously. It's not that they are forcing me, but I am going to Yunnan. It is my responsibility. Yang Ming said, in fact, this time, Chen Mengyan asked you to come back. Isn't it to let you say goodbye to me? Because I am leaving tomorrow. Responsibility. You are leaving tomorrow. Lan Ling was even more baffled. She didn't know what Yang Ming's words meant. Yang Ming knew that Chen Mengyan probably didn't tell Lan Ling in detail that he was going to Yunnan to perform a mission, but she wanted him to tell Lan Ling personally. It was just like Suya before. However, Suya knew that he was going on a long trip, but she didn't know the details, and Lan Ling didn't know anything. Perhaps it was because Suya had an activity, so she wanted to delay her return for a few days. Chen Mengyan had no choice but to tell her that Yang Ming was going on a long trip. However, Lan Ling was anxious to return home. She wanted to come back and see her, so the two hit it off. Chen Mengyan didn't need to say so much, and Lan Ling came back. Yes, Chen Mengyan may not have told you, but I also want to tell you in a while. Then, it's just right. I'll say it now. Yang Ming said, after you left, I joined an organization called the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. Ah. Supernatural Investigation Bureau. Lan Ling was stunned and suddenly exclaimed. Why? Do you know this organization? Yang Ming was shocked by Lan Ling's reaction. I know. A while ago, they contacted our Lan Miao village and wanted to get our help. Lan Ling looked at Yang Ming with some surprise. Are you a member of this organization? Yes, I am. Yang Ming nodded and said, they contacted you. And they contacted my grandmother and wanted to cooperate with us to deal with Elder Yu. Lan Ling nodded and said. Oh. Then, did you agree? Yang Ming didn't expect that Xia Bingbao had contacted Lan Ling's grandmother before. No. Lan Ling shook her head. My grandmother didn't want to cooperate with others. She felt that we weren't ready to deal with Elder Yu. It was impossible to deal with Elder Yu now. But the Supernatural Investigation Bureau wanted to do it recently. They obviously wanted us to be cannon fodder, so my grandmother rejected their proposal. At that time, my grandmother told me about this matter. We also scolded those people from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau who were going to come here. Oh. I'm the one who wants to go to your place to deal with Elder Yu. I'm from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, and I'm the leader. Yang Ming said with a bitter smile. Ah. Lan Ling was even more surprised. It's really you. Then, you really want to go to Yunnan with me. It turns out to be like this. No wonder you said that you must go. But, what about Chen Mengyan and the others? It will be very dangerous this time. Did they agree with you coming? I didn't tell them the specific mission in detail. I just said that I would be gone for a long time. This way, even if I was in danger, they would have something to think about. After a long time, they would naturally forget about it and not be so sad. Yang Ming shook his head. I'm the only one in the Supernatural Investigation Bureau who has fought with Elder Yu, so this time, I'm the only one who can go to Yunnan. Chapter 1977. By the way, I heard that those who can join the Supernatural Investigation Bureau are all skilled in one area. So, what's your specialty? Lan Ling suddenly thought of this matter. Could it be that Yang Ming has some powerful ability that I don't know about? X-ray vision, assassination. Yang Ming didn't want to hide anything from Lan Ling. Since they were dealing with the same enemy, he should let Lan Ling know his trump card. At that time, if there was a crisis, they could help each other. Moreover, Lan Ling was the person closest to him. She wouldn't betray him or harm him. Since he had doubts about Lan Ling, Yang Ming felt guilty about it. So, he wouldn't lie to her anymore. He would tell her everything. Moreover, Lan Ling said it very clearly. He was the only man in her life. Now and in the future. So, how could Lan Ling do something bad to him? That was why Yang Ming didn't hold back when he spoke of his ability. Ah. X-ray vision. Lan Ling was stunned. She looked at Yang Ming in disbelief. You can see through things. And Yang Ming nodded. The booth here was independent. Yang Ming and Lan Ling's voice wasn't loud, so they didn't have to worry about being heard by others. Really? Lan Ling felt it was a bit unbelievable. You're wearing a pink bra and underwear today. The underwear is translucent and gauzy. Are you trying to seduce me? Yang Ming looked at Lan Ling and said with a smile that wasn't a smile. Ah. Lan Ling widened her eyes in surprise. It can't be. You can really see it. Ah, how is this possible? Husband, you are so powerful. Why didn't I know when I met you? Don't tell me it was done after I left. No. Yang Ming shook his head and said, when I met you, I had this special ability. But at that time, I didn't dare to tell anyone. However, now we are going to fight side by side. So, if I tell you, I believe you won't betray me. How can I betray you? Unless you kill me. Lan Ling shook her head. Then, does Chen Mengyan and the others know? I don't know. Yang Ming shook his head. Ha! I'm so happy. Lan Ling laughed. She laughed very happily and very happily. Well, this is one of my life-saving trump cards. In fact, although it's called X-ray vision, it can also be used for long-range vision, short-range vision, and night vision. In short, in theory, I can see things that are infinitely far away, Yang Ming said. So powerful. Lan Ling exclaimed, what about assassination? I know how to seal acupoints, throw flying needles and hidden weapons, and I'm good at all kinds of killing methods, Yang Ming said. This is also something you knew before. Lan Ling looked at Yang Ming in amazement and admiration. She didn't expect her lover to be so powerful. No, I only started learning after you left, said Yang Ming. I seem to have an impression of it. Grandpa's wife seemed to have said that you learned from the king of assassins. Lan Ling nodded as she recalled something. Yang Ming also remembered that Grandpa Sua gave him a medical book. Yang Ming studied it for a while, but after Zhang Zhishan came, he didn't study it again. If that's the case, then you must go to Yunnan. Lan Ling nodded her head and asked seriously. I must go. Yang Ming nodded. Since I'm a member of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, I have to fulfill my duties. What's more, even if I don't go, there are still people who have to go. They haven't dealt with Elder Yu, and they don't have these trump cards in their hands. If they go, won't it be more dangerous? At home, they also have wives and children. You are so great. Lan Ling looked at Yang Ming with some admiration. But this way, I have more confidence. If I knew that you were a member of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, I would have persuaded my grandmother to agree to their proposal. I will go back this time and talk to my grandmother to let her agree to this cooperation. It's better not to. Yang Ming waved his hand and stopped Lan Ling. Why? Previously, my grandmother was afraid that those people would not be honest and use us as cannon fodder, so she refused. The family elders also thought so. But now it's different. You are my lover and the leader of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau to carry out the mission this time. They definitely won't use us, the Lan Miao people, as cannon fodder. Lan Ling said with some puzzlement. First, you are not ready yet. If you force it, I'm afraid you will suffer heavy losses. Yang Ming said, secondly, even if your grandmother agrees, and those elders reluctantly agree for the sake of their reputation, I'm afraid that the people of the Hmong village will hate you if something really goes wrong. They will say that you are biased, and that's why the entire Hmong village is implicated. This. Lan Ling was stunned, but she also knew that Yang Ming was telling the truth. But if we don't help you, you will be in danger, right? This is not very dangerous. Yang Ming waved his hand and said with a smile, we will use a secret method to investigate Elder Yu's weakness bit by bit. Don't forget, I am good at assassination. When the time comes, I can also make a move on Elder Yu from the dark. As long as we don't fight head-on, there should be no problem. I see. Okay. Lan Ling thought about it and could only nod in agreement. She had a plan in her heart. Even if the Miao village didn't help Yang Ming, she could also help Yang Ming privately. In this way, no one would say anything. It was understandable for her to help her husband. Let's not talk about these unpleasant things. Maybe we will meet again in Yunnan. Yang Ming smiled and said, you just have to remember that we are standing together and fighting side by side. Yeah, when I think of this situation, I am full of energy. Lan Ling nodded. I think we will definitely win. Yes. We will definitely win. Yang Ming also nodded. Hey. Yang Ming. A somewhat surprised voice came over. Yang Ming was stunned for a moment. Isn't this Sun Jie's voice? He looked up with some surprise. Sure enough, he saw Sun Jie and Yang Xian coming over to his side. Sun Jie. You are here too. Sister Yang Xian. Yang Ming smiled and greeted Yang Xian. However, when Sun Jie saw Lan Ling next to Yang Ming, she was obviously stunned. She didn't know this girl. Although some of the girls around Yang Ming didn't know Sun Jie knew them. At this moment, Sun Jie had never seen the girl next to Yang Ming, so she hesitated. She didn't know what relationship Yang Ming had with her. She didn't dare to reveal her relationship with Yang Ming. Chapter 1978. Although Sun Jie was a strong woman, since she recognized Yang Ming, she became a woman who followed her husband's wishes. She cared about Yang Ming's feelings. As a smart woman, she absolutely couldn't let her man be embarrassed outside. Sun Jie was very clear about this. Therefore, after seeing Lan Ling, Sun Jie deliberately distanced herself from Yang Ming. When did you come to Donghai? Why didn't you give me a call? I will treat you to a meal. This is Lan Ling, I have told you before. Yang Ming smiled and introduced Lan Ling to Sun Jie. Oh, so you are Lan Ling. I have heard of you. You are Yang Ming's girlfriend. I didn't expect you to be so cute and beautiful. Yang Ming is blessed. Sun Jie pretended to be surprised and praised. Hello, I am Sun Jie, Yang Ming's business friend. Hello. Lan Ling looked at Sun Jie with some doubts and smiled at her. Okay, don't pretend. Yang Ming smiled and kicked Sun Jie's foot. He said to Lan Ling, Ling Ling, she is also my woman. Sun Jie, don't listen to her nonsense. How strong was Lan Ling's sixth sense? When Sun Jie came over, she had a strong hunch. This beautiful woman with big breasts definitely had a deep relationship with Yang Ming. Therefore, this was also the reason why Lan Ling showed a puzzled look when Sun Jie said that she was just Yang Ming's business friend. However, Yang Ming didn't say anything. Lan Ling naturally wouldn't expose it. What if Yang Ming didn't want to tell her about Sun Jie? If she said it, wouldn't it be more embarrassing? But now, Yang Ming exposed it. Lan Ling responded with a smile, Hello, Sun Jie. It's our first time meeting. Please take care of me. Hello. Sun Jie looked at Yang Ming with some surprise. She didn't know why Yang Ming suddenly exposed her relationship with him in front of Lan Ling, and Lan Ling seemed to be very generous. Sun Jie was also a smart person. She had been in the business world for many years. Naturally, she was also proficient in the ability to observe people's expressions. She looked at Lan Ling's eyes without a trace of pretentiousness. She knew that Lan Ling wanted to befriend her from the bottom of her heart. Sun Jie wasn't a stingy woman. Since the other party was like this, she would naturally return the favor. She said enthusiastically, I have heard about you a long time ago. Hee, Yang Ming always told me about you, my ears. Yang Xian had already learned from Sun Jie that Yang Ming had other women. However, Sun Jie's old man didn't care. She naturally wouldn't be nosy. She also knew that Yang Ming saved the Sun family. His ability was quite great. Now, he even had a private island. So, when young Axayan saw this scene, she didn't have any strange expression. Sister Sun Jie, you flatter me. I seem to be younger than you. Do you mind if I call you Sister Sun Jie? Lan Ling was indeed the youngest among Yang Ming's women, so there was nothing wrong with saying that. Of course. Sun Jie nodded. Right, you came back from Yunnan. I just came back today. I just came from the airport. Yang Ming said that the food here was good, so we ate here. Lan Ling said. Is that so? Then we won't disturb your two-person world. We also want to eat. Sun Jia smiled at Lan Ling and said. Why don't we eat together? Lan Ling invited. Hee, it's okay. You guys eat. Sun Jia shook her head and refused Lan Ling's proposal. However, as soon as Sun Jia's voice fell, there was a commotion at the door. Jin Dazhou went out of the House of Six Tastes in embarrassment. At the door of the House of Six Tastes, he gave the car keys to his wife. You go and drive the car over. Send me to the hospital first. Husband, aren't you going to find someone to deal with that kid? Asked Jin Dazhou's wife. Go to the hospital first. I'll make a call on the way. Hurry, it hurts. Said Jin Dazhou. Okay. I said that it would be good to park the car at the door. You said that someone was towing the car here. Look at his car. Isn't it parked properly? No one towed it away. Jin Dazhou's wife pointed at Yang Ming's car and complained. Don't you see? He has a privileged car. How can you compare with him? This car can't be parked anywhere. Jin Dazhou rolled his eyes. My car was towed away. Although I can get it out, it will delay a lot of things. Hurry up. Don't dawdle. Go and get my car out. Okay. Jin Dazhou's wife nodded and quickly ran to the parking lot to drive the car. As for Jin Dazhou, he stood at the door of the House of Six Tastes and began to call people. He wanted to teach Yang Ming a lesson. Otherwise, how could he swallow this? However, he certainly couldn't call his gun team back. Not to mention that the gun team was robbing on the high seas at the moment. Even if he asked them to come back, it was impossible for them to bring guns to deal with Yang Ming. Shooting in a public place like the House of Six Tastes, unless Jin Dazhou didn't want to survive, it was impossible for him to do such a stupid thing. However, Jin Dazhou also had a group of underlings in Donghai City. In addition to his dog-eat-dog business, he also had several underground gambling dens in Donghai City. This was also a quite profitable business, but many gamblers in the gambling dens were red-eyed and irrational. Therefore, Jin Dazhou had to hire a group of thugs to watch over the gambling dens. Of course, he was also afraid that some underworld people would come to destroy the gambling dens. Therefore, Jin Dazhou directly called the boss of his gambling dens and asked him to bring people to the House of Six Tastes and wait for him immediately. At this time, Jin Dazhou's wife also drove over. Jin Dazhou first got in the car and went to the hospital to take the chopsticks and bandage them. Then, he returned to the House of Six Tastes and met with his underlings. He must kill that guy, Yang Ming, personally. Yang Ming was merciful. The chopsticks and fork only caused ordinary external injuries to Jin Dazhou. It wasn't a big problem. Yang Ming was in a good mood, so he didn't do anything to him. Otherwise, the chopsticks directly inserted into his acupuncture points. Even if he took out the chopsticks, his two arms would be crippled. However, sometimes, some people don't know fear if they don't feel pain. Yang Ming was merciful. He thought that Yang Ming was weak. When Jin Dazhou came back from the hospital, the boss of the gambling dens, Brother Guang, was already waiting at the door of the House of Six Tastes. After Brother Guang saw Jin Dazhou, he immediately ran over. Boss! I have brought people over. Who are we going to mess with this time? What do you think? In a while, you will follow me in. You will hit whoever I ask you to. Break his legs for me. Zhendaozhou said. His shoulders were wrapped in gauze, so he also wanted Yang Ming to pay a certain price. Chapter 1979. Zhendaozhou walked into the House of Six Tastes with Brother String and his men. When the waiter saw that there were so many of them and they looked so aggressive, he knew that they weren't here to eat. He subconsciously asked, "Sir, what are you? Get lost." Zhendaozhou pushed the waiter and said impatiently, "Sir, what are you doing? We are going to call the police." The waiter was shocked and quickly said. A waiter recognized Zhendaozhou and realized that he was the one who escaped after being stabbed with chopsticks and fork by Yang Ming. At this moment, he brought so many people here. It was obvious that he was here for revenge. The waiter quickly pulled the waiter who stopped Zhendaozhou and whispered to him, "Be careful, these people are not to be trifled with. Don't talk." The waiter was reminded by the waiter and was a little scared. He quickly shut up. He was just a worker. If he got himself into trouble for no reason, it would be a loss. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but feel scared and quickly apologized to Zhendaozhou, "Big brother. I'm sorry, humph." Zhendaozhou glared at the waiter and thought, "This person has some eyes. A little waiter dares to talk to me like this. If he jumps out again, I'll teach him a lesson first." Zhendaozhou walked into the House of Six Tastes with Gang Bro and saw Yang Ming talking to two women. Zhendaozhou was instantly enraged. "Wow, you sure know how to act, huh? You dare to wait here instead of running away after beating someone up. Especially the tall beauty with big breasts beside Yang Ming." Zhendaozhou drooled. Since his wife didn't come in, Zhendaozhou wanted to teach Yang Ming a lesson while also catching the big-breasted girl beside Yang Ming to play with. "What are you two girls doing? We're going to clear the area for a fight. Everyone else, get out of the way." Of course, although Zhening Jun was interested in Sun Jia, he needed a reason to catch her. He couldn't just catch her like that, right? Therefore, he used a very arrogant and domineering tone to speak to Sun Jia. The purpose was to annoy Sun Jia so that she would come out and defend Yang Ming. This way, he could deal with her logically. Sun Jia and Yang Axian didn't expect that a group of punks would suddenly rush in, and they seemed to be coming here. Yang Axian couldn't help but look at Sun Jia with some doubts. The meaning in her eyes was self-evident. Isn't the Sun family the local tyrant of Donghai City? How could there be a hooligan who dared to mess with the Tai Sui? He actually dared to order around the daughter of the underworld boss of Donghai. Did he not want to live anymore? Sun Jia also frowned. Her business focus was gradually widening and shifting to Island X in North Africa, so the Sun family had been a lot more low-key recently. Some Tom, Dick, and Harry jumped out and became active at this time. Watch your words. Don't cause trouble for yourself. Sun Jia was the daughter of the underworld boss after all. She didn't panic under this situation. She only coldly glanced at Zhendaozhou with some disdain and contempt in her eyes. Feeling the contempt in Sun Jia's eyes, Zhendaozhou was even more annoyed. A chick dared to threaten him. If he couldn't even handle this, then how could he survive in Donghai? Therefore, he couldn't care less. He was no longer in a hurry to chase Sun Jia away. Instead, he reached out and grabbed Sun Jia's chest. What he wanted was Sun Jia's doubt. If Sun Jia left obediently, how could he have the chance to flirt with Sun Jia? Chick, are you very cocky? But I like cocky ones. Let this big brother touch your big breasts and have some fun. Zhendaozhou's eyes were filled with perverted light. His dirty hands touched Sun Jie's chest and he laughed, looking for trouble. Chick, you're pretty tough, huh? But in Donghai City, no one dares to threaten me, Zhendazhou. Why don't you go out and find out what kind of character I, Zhendazhou, am? Pack! Sun Jie slapped Zhendazhou's face. What kind of character was Sun Jie? How could she be at a disadvantage? Zhendazhou. I really haven't heard of him. Who knows where this Tom, Dick, and Harry came from? You dare to hit me? Zhendazhou looked at Sun Jie in front of him in disbelief. He didn't expect Sun Jie to slap him in the face. In Donghai City, even if Zhendazhou wasn't a character who kept to his word, he was still a tyrant. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so arrogant. He didn't expect Sun Jie to hit him directly. Plus, one of his hands and shoulder were injured, so his reaction wasn't quick enough. Therefore, this slap landed on his face firmly. Sun Jie's slap wasn't small. Zhendazhou's face suddenly had 5 red marks. Half of his cheek swelled up. It was terrifying. Yes, I hit you. Sun Jie said sarcastically, Zhendazhou, I haven't heard of you before. Who are you? Fuck. Go. Catch this big tits chick for me first. After I deal with this brat, we will take turns with this chick tonight. Zhendazhou suddenly felt that he lost his face. He didn't want to talk nonsense. He waved his hand and ordered Brother Gang. Okay. Brother Gang was most willing to do this kind of thing. Catching a chick was a good job. He could take advantage of her. Especially for such a beautiful girl like Sun Jie, it would be even better. Although Sun Jie looked a bit fierce, it was because Zhendazhou was injured, so he was hit. However, Brother Gang was strong. Naturally, there wouldn't be such trouble. Therefore, Brother Gang volunteered to rush over and wanted to catch Sun Jie. How could Sun Jie be easily provoked? Although she didn't know martial arts, she was the kind of girl who came from the underworld. Don't think that she was usually obedient to Yang Ming. When Yang Ming wanted to bully her, Sun Jie would agree half-heartedly. However, that was in front of Yang Ming. Yang Ming was Sun Jie's boyfriend. Naturally, she wouldn't do anything to Yang Ming. Moreover, Yang Ming was the master of the masters. Sun Jie couldn't do anything to Yang Ming. But this guy was different. He rushed over excitedly, but he was kicked in the crotch by Sun Jie. He directly covered his lower body and squatted on the ground with an "Ao" sound, howling endlessly. Sun Jie's heel didn't leave any leeway. It directly kicked the Brother Gang until his balls exploded. He was rolling on the ground. Zhendazhou was stunned. He didn't expect Sun Jie to be so fierce. She actually dared to kick people like this. Although they were small gangsters, they didn't dare to fight in public. After all, if the police came to investigate, it wouldn't be easy to escape. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.